Hello everyone, today we are starting the story of a young man who has lost his big brother in a game. Determined to rescue him, he toils day and night crafting cheat items, but when he utilizes them, the game crashes and he finds himself trapped inside as a level 1 skeleton. Please leave a like as today's like goal is 1500 likes. Hit the subscribe button for more videos. So let's start the story without any delay. The story begins amidst an abundant rainfall, which has nurtured a forest of giant trees. Its abundance of timber and huge fruits serves as the main source of income for the surrounding villagers. However, as the forest is slowly being exploited, huge black shadows have often been seen moving in the depths of the forest. Within the eastern suburb of this forest of giants, a one-armed monster towers over an adventurer, calling him a worm who dares to fight him once and for all. The adventurer seeks a fair duel with the monster. He taunts the monster, questioning if he is scared. Nothing like a little monster under the bed banter to start the day. He notes that the monster's status is significantly depleted, so he makes one last gamble and resolves to beat this elite boss. Furious, the one-armed monster uses its ultimate move, Avalanche Chop, and launches its body toward the adventurer. The man, anticipating this moment, moves swiftly and employs a cross-swords chop, effectively slashing the monster's neck. Proudly, the adventurer reflects on his successful strategy. He jumped to dodge the monster's ultimate move just half a second before being struck by the attack. Then he utilized the fog to get close and executed a combination of note and cross-swords chop to kill the elite boss. He calls himself one-of-a-kind ultimate genius for employing such a strategy. Surprisingly, the elite boss drops a magnificent loot, the heavy sword it was using. The sword possesses advanced attributes, and the only downside is that it reduces the wearer's level by 5. The adventurer considers it a stroke of luck to acquire such a weapon on the first day of the server launch. With it, he believes he can certainly elevate his combatability and level rankings. As he gazes at his newfound weapon, a system fairy appears, congratulating him for obtaining such a formidable weapon. The adventurer realizes it is his elf assistant, and upon her appearance, he asks if there are any news that may catch his attention. She informs him that a limited-time event has been activated. A rare boss named the Blood Moon Walker has spawned in the giant forest. Defeating it will reward them with rare equipment and a massive amount of experience. With this news, the adventurer can't contain his smile, as this was what he wanted all along. Although he recognizes that a time-limited boss should be difficult, he is excited because he can test out his newly acquired sword. A few moments later, as they close in on their target, the system fairy informs the adventurer that it senses a large number of players heading towards the boss. She suggests they need to hurry or other players will get there first. The adventurer shares the same sense of urgency, but he's also struggling with the dense forest. Suddenly, a purple light shines through the forest just up ahead. This can only mean that the boss was defeated already, and it dropped purple equipment. With this, the adventurer hurriedly follows the light. He thinks that even if it is equipment that a swordsman cannot use, he can still sell it for several thousands of dollars. He rushes to make it all his. Upon reaching his destination, he discovers not just one but quite half the amount of equipment, with the purple great equipment positioned in the center. Such an amazing sight would thrill any adventurer to take them all. It's like a virtual shopping spree, but with monsters instead of sales clerks. The man gets overexcited, shouting that he has struck gold and is all his. Since he doesn't see anyone around, he concludes that he was just lucky and that everyone perished with the boss. He's about to grab the items, feeling like the protagonist of the story. However, his celebration is short-lived as his neck is sliced open by an unknown entity that he didn't even see coming due to its incredible speed. He cannot believe that he was killed, and with that, he can only watch as his newly acquired sword drops from his inventory as he fades away. It seems the boss was well and alive, having claimed the lives of 418 players. Soon after, a group of adventurers sprints towards the boss in high spirits, eager to kill it with their own hands and get their hands on the loot it may drop. With only 1 minute remaining until the limited time event ends, they are all going all out in this attack. However, little did they know this particular boss is built differently. It was specifically made to eliminate those who don't know their place. As they got close, the boss slipped right through them like butter, instantly defeating each one. Even the big hunk wasn't safe from getting sliced up. Seeing that this boss seems quite strong, the blonde elf woman within the group devises a plan, suggesting that they surround the boss and attack together. She commands everyone to charge, instructing archers and mages to chip away at the boss from a distance, aiming to restrict its movements. Meat shields and fighters are directed to draw aggro and take turns tanking the damage. She bolsters their confidence, stating that their numbers are their strength, and they will wear the boss down together. Emphasizing the importance of teamwork, she tells everyone that once the boss is defeated, they should rush to grab the equipment it drops on a first-come, first-served basis. And because they are all blindly following the plan, they charge first, while the elf stays in the rear. However, to their surprise, the boss slices them up with ease, making sure to also kill the one who made the plan in the first place. With this, the surviving players realize that their attempts were insignificant. It's like trying to fight a dragon with a toothpick. Fear grips them as they urge each other to go ahead and fight. One of them attempts to reason with the boss, claiming he was merely passing by and had no intention of engaging in combat. He pleads that he only came to admire the scenery. Another advises them to hastily gather all the gear they can muster and attempt to escape, explaining that if they are killed here, their equipment and experience will be dropped. Still, the boss isn't willing to let them go, and so he kills them all, bringing his count to 444 players. However, it is still far fewer than he expected, and he can only rely on the system fairy to lure more adventurers to him. One of the executives of Destiny Corporation is dealing with a problematic employee named Lu Li. He expresses his disappointment in Li, knowing all too well that with his abilities, Li could have obtained the company's equity this year and become a shareholder, thus opening up limitless opportunities for his future. But he still insisted on investigating a missing case that could damage the company's interests and reputation, and as a result, the board of directors has made a decision to terminate him immediately. Unexpectedly, Li isn't fazed by this decision one bit as he accepts it calmly and leaves the place to handle the resignation procedures. The man is speechless. Still, he can't help but sigh as he just lost a super talented individual under his wing. Now that Li is gone, he asks his secretary Wang to find someone to replace Li, and if she is unable to find one, he tells her to try and add another 20 million to Li's compensation package. However, the secretary wasn't really paying attention to his words as she was also affected by the sudden termination of Li. Looks like someone's heart isn't in the filing cabinet today. She had chosen this position in the first place so that she could see Li several times a day, and now that Li is gone, she was considering resigning as well. Moments later, Li has left his workplace and is standing outside tall buildings. He gazes at a picture of him with his brothers in his hand, and in his thoughts, he talks to his big brother in the picture. He expresses that he is closer to uncovering the disappearance of him since he finally found evidence about his case. With this, he is more than sure that he will find him soon. Unexpectedly, Li finds himself lost as he's directionally challenged and can't distinguish between east, south, west, and north. Now he's completely clueless about the direction of his house. This wasn't a problem for him before, as he belongs to a breed of workaholics who only go home once every 2 years. Meanwhile, as Li tries his best to find his way home, an insane couple is fighting in his house. The girl discovers that her man has been involved with another woman besides her, and not just one, there are 68 of them. This revelation indicates that this man is working overtime to be a menace to society. Still, the man tries to calm the girl down, but she's already fed up with his lies. Luckily for him, this girl isn't inclined to extreme actions, as instead of resorting to revenge or cutting off his wiener, she simply leaves the place in tears. Still, the man has the audacity to get on his knees and utilize his acting skills to try to convince the girl that he loves her. Meanwhile, Li finally arrives at their house, but is left speechless upon seeing how big of a Dutch his little brother is. Nonetheless, Li is kind enough to ask his brother if he needs space, perhaps feeling he returned at the wrong time. His brother, however, immediately changes his mood as if nothing happened at all and welcomes Li with a smile, stating that he always comes back at the right time. Li asks his brother about his girlfriend, to which his brother replies that it's nothing to worry about and assures him that it will be all right in a couple of days. He then takes Li inside and asks if he's thirsty. Li can't help but notice the messy state of the place with women's undergarments strewn all over. He reminds his little brother about the importance of maintaining household hygiene when living alone and advises him to show some restraint in his private life. Laughing it off, his brother explains that he's been feeling lonely since Li left him alone in the house, and to prevent such things from happening again, he suggests that Li accompany him for a few more days and not leave in a hurry like last time. Li informs his brother that this time he truly has to stay for a few more days. This news surprises his little brother, who becomes overexcited. He suggests they go for a barbecue tonight or offers to take Li for a massage if he's too tired. He reassures Li that it is a legitimate place. However, Li knows it is not yet time to celebrate, so he instantly changes his demeanor to a more serious one. He tells his brother that there is a clue to their big brother's disappearance. His brother beams with happiness upon hearing this news. He promptly informs Li that he has prepared all the equipment as requested, and tonight at midnight marks the official launch of Destiny Corporation's Fantasy Moon. Li has been eagerly anticipating this moment, speculating that the reason why their big brother went missing might be related to this game. Finally, the moment they've been waiting for arrives, and they don their new gear, looking impressive and fully prepared for what lies ahead. Upon entering the game and confirming their identities, a system fairy materializes, introducing herself as the game assistant for Fantasy Moon. She offers the nickname CC for convenience and informs them that the game is about to commence, wishing them a joyful journey in this virtual reality realm. The game synchronizes with their brains, and after loads of system instructions, a character is successfully created. With this, Lee is teleported to the center of Mulan's village where the noob sits, marveling at how lifelike the game is. However, his train of thought is interrupted by his brother calling out to him. True to form, his brother has already teamed up with a girl the moment he appeared in the game and asks him to form a party to do a mission together. However, Lee refuses, insisting that they should go first. His brother is taken aback by this response. Unable to comprehend, he asks Lee why he is not coming, considering that newbie quests are the same for everyone. Lee responds that they now have different paths to follow, as he has other tasks to attend to. He advises his brother to level up quickly, and just like that, they part ways. Now alone, Lee calls out to CC to open the special redemption code window and enters the code he specifically placed in the game, which only he could know. With that, he receives 3 messages from the system. Meanwhile, CC is utterly flabbergasted at what she sees, her eyes filled with confusion as she struggles to identify the items her master has just received. She asks him what they are, to which he clarifies that these are the cheats he created. This instantly shocks CC, as she was programmed to put an end to cheating. Still, she politely asks her master to stop the operation quickly, warning him that his account will be permanently banned otherwise. However, Lee remains unfazed by this. He explains that he has hidden these cheats in the underlying code of the game, making it impossible for the system to detect them. Even if someone were to manually search for them, it would take half a year, rendering banning him impossible, and just like that, he receives the first item, named the Omniscient Bracelet, and the stats this item provides are no joke. The only requirement to equip it is to be level 10 and above. Not only that, this item has a special attribute. The equipment level scales with the character's level, and every 10 levels the equipment quality is upgraded. Additionally, each time the equipment quality is upgraded, the character can randomly obtain a profession-specific skill. However, Lee realizes that the Omniscient Bracelet is too extravagant for his current homeless trip aesthetic. Therefore, he asks CC to help him hide this equipment. Then, he opens the second mail, which grants him an item named Random Achievement Codex. For every 10 levels, this item generates random achievements based on character events, and completing them yields random rewards. Lee is surprised at the item's remarkable attributes. He recalls that he only entered the command for a powerful item and left was randomly generated by AI. Then he opens the third mail, which contains the most crucial item of them all, the Chen's invitation from Azura. He had worked tirelessly in the Destiny Corporation for 2 years to obtain this item because during his big brother's beta testing, the hidden plot he discovered was linked to it. Lee concludes that this item should be the source of his big brother's disappearance. Determined to ensure his little brother doesn't face any dangers and knowing that if anything happens to him, the clues will end here, Lee opens the Invitation Scroll of Purgatory's Azura. This scroll allows him to change his profession to an Ashura, mentioning that it will trigger a new storyline after the change. Lee instantly accepts it. Upon confirming, his heart begins to ache intensely. Placing a hand on his chest, he closes his eyes. When he opens them, he finds himself standing in a place drenched in blood. 4 robed skeletons materialize around him, encircling him under the eerie, blood-red glow of the crescent moon. They chant in a mysterious language incomprehensible to him. Simultaneously, they assail him, plunging into his being. Confusion grips him as he struggles to comprehend the unfolding events. He distinctly remembers not designing such a scenario. The pain he experiences transcends the boundaries of a mere game, intensifying his bewilderment. Moments later, he succumbs to death, finding himself plummeting deep within the system. As errors flood the space, darkness envelopes his surroundings, leading him to assume that the game has crashed. Urging the system to exit the game yields no results, intensifying his panic. Despite repeated commands, the system fails to detect his data source, leaving him in a state of frantic confusion. Suddenly, he emerges from the ground, transformed into a different entity than anticipated. Puzzled, Lee wonders why he has become a skeleton instead of Azura. Adding to his bewilderment is his lack of awareness regarding his whereabouts. Rising from his grave, Lee surveys his surroundings only to be startled by a pathetic-looking creature wielding a glowing staff. The creature hails him as its servant, its face adorned with a wide grin, signifying the success of its summoning ritual. Lee thinks the creature might be an NPC and tries to talk to it. Lee inquires the creature about their whereabouts. The creature is taken aback by the skeleton's ability to speak, a surprise it hadn't anticipated. The creature contemplates if it has summoned a rare quality skeleton guard. Meanwhile, upon receiving no response, Lee deems the creature useless, considering that it might not be an NPC from the beginner level, and decides to seek assistance elsewhere. This action further infuriates the creature, as it had expected its summon to approach and kneel before it. Determined not to tolerate such disrespect, the creature resolves that its newfound servant must be disciplined first in order to become obedient. Otherwise, it fears it may continue to act arrogantly. With determination, he activates his held chain, swiftly chaining up the skeleton before him. The sudden action surprises Lee, leaving him clueless about what's happening. However, when he witnesses the creature releasing a massive aura directed towards him, he realizes he's in serious trouble. Just as he braces for impact, a colossal monster appears and smashes the creature, freeing Lee from his chains. Shock washes over him as he gazes up at the immense size of the monster. Now finding himself in unfamiliar territory, Lee begins to question if he mistakenly entered the wrong map and how he can possibly navigate the game under such adverse conditions. Realizing he has no other choice, he attempts to call out to CC, hoping she is still connected to his character. Fortunately, CC remains linked, and she provides him with an explanation that he is currently in the land of pure darkness, the birthplace of all high-level bosses in the game and one of the most perilous locations. With a clearer understanding of his situation, he turns to CC for guidance on how to proceed in such a challenging scenario, and if there are any quests he can undertake. CC diligently gathers all available information about the place, discovering a mission point located 100 kilometers away from their current position. She proposes they head there, but Lee expresses concern about the daunting distance, especially since they can only travel on foot. Later, as they ascend a mountain, Lee questions if there's an alternative route. CC explains that while there is another route, it would quadruple the distance, making their journey significantly longer. With no viable alternatives, Lee begrudgingly accepts CC's recommendation, realizing they must stick to the shortest route despite its challenges. Moments later, they find themselves traversing on a log through the waters with a massive sea monster in hot pursuit. Panicked, Lee questions CC about the path she has chosen. However, her words of encouragement serve to keep him motivated despite the chaos surrounding them. Fortunately, Afi is still able to send messages, providing Lee with a welcome distraction from the insanity of their situation. Afi shares the story of his mission, informing Lee that he has already reached level 5 and acquired a great green staff. Expecting his brother to have progressed even further, he inquires Lee about his current level, wondering if Lee has been secretly grinding high-level dungeons for experience. To his surprise, Lee informs him that he is still on level 1, leaving him puzzled. Afe offers words of encouragement, but Lee can't be bothered to hear the end of it, as again he is being chased by another humongous mother flipper that keeps eyeing him even though its cake is just made of bones. Fortunately, his will to live helps him get through the challenge he faces, and he outruns that thing. The next thing he knows, they finally see where the mission point is located. Even with the distance, they can see entities lining up to enter this huge place. Getting close to it, CC estimates that it would take approximately 2 hours if they line up to enter the main gate. However, Lee spots another entrance where no one is lining up. He tells CC about it, to which she clarifies that it is not the planned route. Lee responds that they've already wasted too much time and the route she planned was too rigid, so whether or not it is the conventional way to enter, all that matters to him now is getting into the city. Upon reaching the red entrance door, 2 giant board guards stop him, seeking an explanation for his visit. Lee explains that he has something urgent to do, so he asks them if they could let him in. The sight brings a smile to the giant guard's face. He remarks that he understands the urgency of his situation, acknowledging that it's normal to have pressing matters to attend to. With this understanding, he swiftly permits the little skeleton to enter. Surprised, Lee considers it the easiest encounter he has had since teleporting into this hellish place. He even expresses gratitude to the guards for their understanding nature. Little does he know, as soon as he steps inside, the guards can't contain their laughter anymore. They can't believe that such a weak monster could be so clueless as to enter such a dangerous place, let alone thank them for it. Now they're even more excited to see how they'll fare in the Cloud Arena, where 9 deaths will occur and only 1 will survive. Soon after, as Lee reaches the end of the tunnel and embraces the light from the other side, he's greeted by the loud voice of the commentator welcoming him as a contestant. Confusion washes over Lee as they examine his basic information. To their surprise, he is only a level 1 skeleton. This garners the attention of everyone, but not in a good way. Laughter erupts as they mock how pathetic he is. Even the commentator assumes that this little skeleton is just a cannon fodder contestant. However, being a good commentator, he quickly redirects the crowd's attention, suggesting that perhaps this little skeleton could surprise them with some interesting fights. With that settled, he announces that the Battle of the Storm Cloud Arena officially begins, sparking excitement among the crowd as they eagerly anticipate the unfolding fights. He emphasizes that, as usual, the commentary and hosting duties for the event are managed by the most famous and beloved duo. Introducing himself as the quick-tongued rabbit, he proceeds. Even before his fellow commentator, the slow turtle, can get a word in, the rabbit, true to form, can't resist cutting him off, not even allowing him to finish his introduction. The rabbit explains that despite everyone being familiar with the rules, tradition dictates they must still announce them. He proceeds to outline the 3 rules of the Storm Cloud Arena. First, matches will be conducted in a 1 versus 1 arena battle, with the last one standing declare the winner. Second, the arena ensures fairness by adjusting all contestants' levels to match the lowest level contestant at the minimum level of 10. Only skills within the adjusted level range can be used and equipment will be provided by the Storm Cloud Arena. Third, unless the opponent admits defeat, the only path to victory is to kill the opponent. Regarding rewards, the winner of the Storm Cloud Battle Arena will receive 5,000 experience points and an epic-grade weapon corresponding to their level. With the levels adjusted for all contestants, this becomes the lowest level battle ever recorded in the history of the Storm Cloud Battle Arena. Suddenly, all participants find themselves at level 10. However, it appears that not everyone is pleased with this outcome, as the rules have even diminished their skills. One contestant in particular is frustrated that they can't use their recently acquired ultimate move. Anger brews among the contestants, directed at the little skeleton who put them at such a disadvantage. They're now plotting to take him down if given the chance, warning him not to think he stands a chance against their experience. Lee realizes he's made a grave mistake and regrets not heeding Cece's advice to just queue up in line. Fortunately for him, reaching level 10, even if temporarily, is deemed valid by the system. Now he can choose his starting profession. Presented with several options, Lee feels overwhelmed by the choices. However, recalling the days he played with his big brother, he remembers his insistence that he was suited to be an assassin. Trusting his big brother's judgment, he concludes it would be the best choice and becomes an assassin. This decision grants him a new set of skills and attributes. Meanwhile, the commentator taunts the players who still haven't adjusted to their current levels. He emphasizes that time waits for no one and decides to move on to the next step, providing them with their designated equipment. Surprisingly, Lee receives sharp daggers. He realizes that this might not be such a bad place to start after all. If he can't win, he can simply surrender immediately without it being a problem for him. However, before the competition can begin, the rabbit steps forward to make the most important announcement of the day. He reveals that they are welcoming specially invited dream instructors. In this competition, those who perform exceptionally well may have the chance to receive their guidance. He introduces the person on the left as the famous Lord Zhuang Huaishu, the Northern Hall Master of Blood Moon City. Lord Zhuang is responsible for the wars and strategic deployment of Blood Moon City, with half of the city's combat ability falling under his Northern Blood Moon Hall. Additionally, 70% of the city's young generation experts are disciples of Lord Zhuang. The rabbit explains that catching Lord Zhuang's attention is considered a great honor, as it can lead to a bright future and a chance to reach the pinnacle of life. This thrills the audience, who shout his name and vie for his attention. The rabbit continues, introducing the other important guest, Lady Wu Yu, the #1 beauty of Blood Moon City. She serves as the Eastern Hall Master, responsible for the city's resource distribution and the Blood Pool Dungeon. As the audience lays eyes on her, they can't help but be captivated by her stunning beauty. Even the rabbit can't deny Lady Wu Yu's allure. However, her strength is equally impressive, yet unfathomable. The rabbit explains that Lady Wu Yu maintains strict criteria for selecting her disciples, resulting in her having only accepted 1 disciple so far. This sole disciple, Han Yixiao, is hailed as an unparalleled genius, having achieved 10 consecutive victories in the Storm Cloud Arena, a feat that shocked Blood Moon City. Excitement ripples through the audience at her appearance, yet they refrain from shouting her name aloud, fully cognizant of her reputation for ruthlessness and short temper. Meanwhile, Lee is taken aback upon hearing the name of Lady Wu Yu's disciple, Han Yixiao, the same name as his big brother. This revelation offers him another clue about his brother. He considers that Lady Wu Yu likely holds valuable information about his brother and therefore ponders various strategies to approach her and gain her trust. Unintentionally, Lee catches Lady Wu Yu's attention by openly staring at her. She briefly considers crushing him on the spot but refrains due to Lord Zhuang's presence. She fears his influence might sway any consequences against her. Nevertheless, this incident prompts her to contemplate killing Zhuang first. With everything in place, the rabbit redirects everyone's attention to the upcoming match. He announces that the first contender in this highly anticipated Storm Cloud Arena is none other than the star of the competition, Bloodclaw from the Bloodlion clan. Born with an epic bloodline, the Bloodlion clan naturally excels in battle, and Bloodclaw represents the new generation of this formidable clan. His claws are renowned for their invincibility and incredible sharpness. He is widely recognized as the favorite contestant to win the competition. As the battle starts, Bloodclaw remains true to his fame, wasting no time in asserting his dominance. With a single swipe of his claw, he overwhelms his opponent, securing victory with undeniable authority. Moving on to the next match, the spotlight falls on the zombie swordsman Bai Lei from the Great Sword Sect, one of the newly emerging factions in the South Moon Hall. Serving as the vice captain of the Great Sword Sect, Bai Lei is renowned in the South Moon Hall for his fast, precise, and ruthless swordsmanship. Countless experts have met their demise at his hands, and as anticipated, he secures another victory with apparent ease. Moving on to the third match, the victor is the dual-wielding demon Gear, hailing from the distant wilderness. Despite fighting as an outsider to Blood Moon City, his combat prowess proves formidable. However, what truly surprises the spectators is the outcome of the fourth round. The unexpected victory of the seemingly cannon fodder contestant leaves many baffled, including some of the audience who couldn't even discern how he managed to defeat his opponent due to the swiftness of the battle. With this unexpected twist, the Rabbit wastes no time in initiating the thrilling second round, the quarterfinals of the Storm Cloud Arena Battle Fest. In the first match, Lee faces off against the dual-wielding demon Gear. However, before the battle even begins, Gear advises Lee to surrender, expressing disdain for killing weaklings like him. He asserts that a little skeleton like Lee is not qualified to provoke him into attacking. Despite this, Lee stands defiantly, letting Gear run his mouth for the last time. Meanwhile, on the other side of the game, Offei unleashes his fire bolt, wiping out all the goblins with ease. His prowess raises the admiration of the girls beside him, casting him as the main character of his own story. Despite the praise he receives, Offei remains convinced that if they were to see his second brother, they would truly understand what amazing means. His admiration for his second brother remains unchanged as he wonders about his brother's current whereabouts and whether everything is going smoothly for him. Just as Offei contemplates his brother's abilities, Lee faces his opponent without a shred of fear coursing through his bones. He approaches calmly, surprising everyone with his newfound resolve. It becomes evident that this so-called cannon fodder possesses a formidable backbone. However, Gear still underestimates him, looking down on Lee and planning to end the match swiftly. With a burst of speed, Gear unleashes a devastating attack, but to his astonishment, Lee manages to evade it. Despite Lee's skillful evasion, Gear refuses to acknowledge his opponent's abilities, attributing it to mere luck. Determined to prove himself, Gear repeats the same attack, only for Lee to dodge once again. Gear decides to employ his void-tearing slash to change the dynamics of the battle. However, to everyone's surprise, Lee effortlessly dodges it yet again. Witnesses are left wondering how he manages to evade Gear's attacks consistently. Unbeknownst to them, Lee possesses exceptional battle IQ. He has calculated the length of his enemy's arm in conjunction with the length of his weapon, and by analyzing each and every factor carefully, Lee has determined that the maximum swing radius of Gear's attacks is less than 2 meters. He has deduced that as long as he maintains a distance of 2 meters between them, the probability of being hit by Gear's attacks remains low. However, he remains vigilant against other potential skills, such as weapon throws or long-range attacks. He has also calculated that Gear's skills have a half-second cast time and a flight speed of approximately 160 kilometers per hour. With his reaction speed, dodging Gear's attacks proves manageable to Lee, and now that he has created more distance between them, Lee assesses the situation carefully. He predicts that the next move Gear is likely to use is the burst slash skill, a straight-line charge skill. However, he recalls that during its execution, the user becomes momentarily immobilized. Lee sees this as an opportunity to seize victory. Meanwhile, the audience's skepticism about his skill stirs Gear's emotions, fueling his determination to prove himself. Fueled by anger, Gear loses his composure and becomes deadly serious about killing Lee. As Lee has anticipated, Gear unleashes his burst slash. In response, Lee executes his plan flawlessly, activating his critical hit skill to deliver a decisive blow, surprising Gear. Gear didn't expect his dream of becoming the Lord of Oblivion to be crushed by a little skeleton. The crowd erupts in wild cheers, shocked to witness the cannon fodder transform into the dark horse of the battle fest. Anticipation mounts as they eagerly await Lee's performance in the upcoming finale. Even Jun finds the skeleton quite interesting. However, Lady Wu Yu remains unimpressed by the display of skill, considering the skeleton merely slightly smarter and nothing special. Despite this, since the skeleton has managed to keep her from being bored, she decides to reward him with some additional time to showcase his skills further. Zhuang is convinced by Wu Yu's assessment, acknowledging the truth that the lowest-ranking bloodline will be useless no matter what. As they proceed to the next match, everyone anticipates it to be the championship battle, with Blood Claw facing off against the zombie swordsman Bai Lei. Like other contestants before him, Blood Claw asserts to Bai Lei that he clearly isn't a match for him. However, Bai Lei remains unfazed by such claims. Despite his inferior bloodline, he is confident that as long as he wields his sword, nothing can stop him. With unwavering conviction, Bai Lei unleashes his combination skill, the flowing dance leap, a blend of water dance and burst slash. This skill propels him 5 times faster than Gear's burst slash, allowing him to sever Blood Claw's head in a single swift attack. As his blade draws near, Bai Lei is confident that it will connect, proving to everyone that bloodlines aren't everything. However, Bai Lei soon realizes that it is not his day as Blood Claw looks at his blades and starts munching on it. With his opponent's blade rendered ineffective, it's Blood Claw's turn to strike. He uses his dual blazing claws and delivers a fatal blow. He then even insults his opponent despite him being already dead. The crowd goes wild, chanting Blood Claw's name. Even the rabbit assumes that they are witnessing the future champion of the Storm Cloud Arena, overlooking the outcome of the last match. Jun shares the same sentiment, deeming this little lion worthy of being nurtured by him despite his impure bloodline. However, Lady Wuyu remains unconvinced, considering this lion unfit even to guard her gates. Meanwhile, Li realizes that something isn't adding up. He finds it hard to believe that the lion could actually bite through Bai Lei's weapon, considering that the weapons are distributed by the arena and shouldn't be destroyed so easily. It dawns on him that even after the lion's level was reduced to 10, his base level and attributes may exceed the average value. It becomes apparent that he will have a tough opponent to deal with. However, his train of thought is interrupted by Blood Claw out of the lion calling out to him. Unlike what he did to the other contestants, instead of discouraging Li, he challenges the little skeleton to come and fight and head-on, stating that he hasn't had enough fun yet. Li remains unaffected despite the lion's provocation. His intelligence tells him that he's outmatched, but winning this competition is the only way to get close to Lady Wuyu. Even though he's at a disadvantage and the commentator is trying to persuade him to forfeit, giving up in the face of adversity is not an option for Li. Finding his big brother is his priority, and he won't abandon the search by being a coward. His brother and Afei are the only family he has left in this world, and they're more important to him than his own life. No matter the challenges he encounters, Li refuses to give up. The final match begins, and Blood Claw eagerly taunts the little skeleton, as he anticipated the reaction of a low-ranked creature, a dumb son of a gun unable to withstand even slight provocation. Facing Li, Blood Claw proudly declares that he will treat the little skeleton as a dessert to celebrate his victory. His plan is to push his opponent to show desperation and regret, aiming to please himself until the very end. However, his threats don't amuse Li for one bit, as he just looks at him like dead meat. So he leaps towards the lion, which discerns that his speed is even slower than the swordsman before. Way too slow, in fact, that he just decides to use one hand to stop him. But to his surprise, a little skeleton just dodges it quite easily and is now behind him. Still, the lion manages to dodge it, but now he's reminded that this little skeleton is an assassin, and it seems like he was just pretending to catch him off guard. But it doesn't really matter since he is still trash in his eyes. The lion then uses his long-range skill to counter, but this is also dodged by the little skeleton. With this, the lion isn't smiling anymore. He now understands he's contending with a foe who simply plans to evade his attacks. What's more surprising is that he's now bearing bruises inflicted by someone he dismissed as insignificant. His frustration mounts. He's Blood Claw, the esteemed leader of the younger Blood Lion generation. To be wounded by such inferior opposition is intolerable. In a fit of rage, he unleashes his skill, Blood War, enhancing his strength and critical hits by 20% for 15 seconds, intending to vanquish his adversary in the most humiliating manner possible. However, witnessing Blood Claw resort to such measures leads observers to reconsider the opponent's prowess, suggesting they may be more formidable than initially presumed. Even Lady Wuyu finds herself intrigued by what this little skeleton will reveal next. It's unusual to witness a monster with such a low level and bloodline of the lowest caliber delivering such amusement to her. Again, Blood Claw initiates his attack, leaping towards the skeleton as he inundates him with a flurry of strikes. Despite the skeleton managing to block them, he knows he can't maintain this defense for long. Each strike from Blood Claw feels as heavy as a truck, and as expected, he loses his balance, his defense crumbling. Seizing the opportunity, Blood Claw obliterates him from existence, insulting him once more, telling him to stay where trash belongs. To his surprise, as soon as he gets close, the little skeleton reveals that it was all an act. He was merely waiting for him to unleash his special move. While Blood Claw's killing move is potent, within half a second he's unable to turn around immediately. Seizing this moment, the little skeleton activates his backstab ability, teleporting behind the enemy to launch a surprise attack. However, this plan could have succeeded against other opponents, but not against Blood Claw. He possesses a skill that negates the need to turn around, the Blood Origin skill Lion Roar. This move surprises everyone, even Juan. who promptly decides to take Blood Claw under his wing. Meanwhile, Lady Wu Yu finds it disappointing as she had finally taken an interest in a participant after a long time. Yet she acknowledges that the little skeleton's inability to survive may be due to a skill issue beyond their control. As expected, Blood Claw manages to slice the cannon fodder's one hand and leg, revealing the lack of calcium in his bones as they break in half. Seeing this happen, the rabbit pities the skeleton, commenting that after losing one arm and a leg, the cannon fodder has lost his only advantage of speed, and with that the victor is decided. The only thing left to see is whether the cannon fodder will surrender or stubbornly meet his end on the stage. Proudly, the lion taunts the skeleton, noting that he's looking much better now. He advises the skeleton not to bother with surrender, emphasizing that even if he were to surrender, he wouldn't be let off lightly. Laughing at his pathetic state, the lion encourages the little skeleton to be generous and give the audience watching the live broadcast a great show, suggesting that perhaps people will remember him for 2 days. Meanwhile, the little skeleton is more than happy to see that things are looking favorable, as it seems like the fish is about to bite the hook. The lion, consumed by thoughts of dominating the skeleton, considers various ways to humiliate his opponent, such as breaking bones one by one or using the skull as a toy. Meanwhile, Li remains motionless, a silent and ominous presence, awaiting the lion's next move. In an attempt to further provoke Li, the lion callously steps on the dismembered leg of the skeleton. Unbeknownst to the lion, this action only serves to fuel Li's resolve. With a sudden and swift motion, Li steps forward and hurls his dagger toward Blood Claw. The lion, dismissing it as a feeble attempt at resistance, easily blocks the projectile. However, to his surprise, the lion realizes too late that Li still retains control of his other hand. As the dagger hurtles through the air, it becomes evident that Li has not thrown it aimlessly, but rather strategically for himself. In a remarkable display of skill and agility, he swiftly retrieves the dagger with his severed hand and activates his backstab ability. With unparalleled precision, Li delivers a devastating blow to the proud lion, leaving him severely injured with just a single strike. The sudden turn of events leaves everyone present in stunned silence, their eyes widening in disbelief. Even the typically quick-tongued rabbit finds himself at a loss for words, unable to comprehend the swiftness and efficiency of Li's counterattack. Fortunately, they still have their other commentator, the rampaging turtle, to break the silence. Since he was being cut off the entire time, he seizes this opportunity to shine, bursting out with his magnificent voice to match the intensity of the fight he just witnessed. He exclaims that it's been too long since he last saw such a thrilling comeback. Like the rampaging turtle, he sees this as a mission to shed some light on what happened to everyone. He explains that this was all part of the cannon fodder's plan from the very start. The rampaging turtle continues his riveting commentary, elucidating the intricate strategy employed by the cannon fodder. He recounts how the cannon fodder initially showcased his speed advantage by boldly engaging the strongest opponent despite his own perceived weakness. As the battle unfolded, the cannon fodder deliberately provoked Blood Claw, goading him into a state of blind rage. However, when Blood Claw unleashed his ultimate move in response, it was all part of the cannon fodder's cunning plan. He cleverly feigned weakness, luring Blood Claw into a false sense of superiority and enticing him to reveal his most devastating attack. But the most astonishing revelation of all comes to light. While everyone believed it was Blood Claw who had severed the cannon fodder's arm and leg, it was actually the cannon fodder himself who orchestrated the seemingly self-inflicted injuries. Just when it seemed like all hope was lost for the cannon fodder, he unveils his ultimate trump card, the skeleton's resurrection skill. With this remarkable ability, he establishes a spiritual connection to a fallen skeleton bone, granting him a second chance to turn the tide of battle. With this, he made his ultimate comeback by defeating the stronger opponent despite being weaker. So even if the little skeleton wasn't expected to succeed, he delivered, earning himself a new title, the Moon Slayer. Meanwhile, even though Blood Claw has already surrendered, Li plans to deal with the lion permanently to prevent future problems. However, this plan doesn't sit well with Zhuan, who intends to take Blood Claw under his wing. Zhuan, determined to protect his protege, forcefully halts Moon Slayer's advances, knocking him back with sheer power and deploying his skills to attempt to erase him from existence. Despite Moon Slayer's prowess, he finds himself powerless to deflect such a formidable attack. However, Moon Slayer's cunning and resourcefulness catch the attention of Lady Wu Yu, who recognizes his potential. With swift determination, she intervenes to save Moon Slayer from Zhuan's onslaught. Drawing upon her formidable abilities, Lady Wu Yu unleashes her heaven-piercing blasts, aiming to exact revenge upon Zhuan for harming her precious skeleton. The arena erupts into chaos as the battle between these powerful adversaries reaches its climax, with the fate of all involved hanging in the balance. The attack displays such overwhelming power that even Zhuan takes damage. He demands a reasonable explanation for her actions, but Lady Wu Yu feels no need to explain herself. Ignoring him, she saves the skeleton that caught her interest and tells him that from now on, he belongs to her. Soon, Wu Yu finishes, restoring Slayer to his original form, concluding that everything should now be back to normal. Slayer is amazed as not only have his broken bones healed, but they are now stronger than ever before. Before Moon Slayer can fully process this miraculous transformation, Lady Wu Yu's stern voice interrupts his thoughts, demanding the presence of both the commentators. With a playful yet menacing threat, she warns the rabbit and turtle that if they fail to announce the results of the tournament promptly, they too will face her wrath. Fearing the prospect of being transformed into donut-shaped creatures, the commentators swiftly comply with Lady Wu Yu's demand. With a sense of urgency, they take to the stage and declare to the gathered spectators the emergence of a new star, the undisputed champion of the Storm Cloud Arena Tournament, Moon Slayer. The arena erupts into cheers and applause as Moon Slayer basks in the glory of his hard-earned victory, his name now etched into the annals of arena legends. And as the dust settles and the echoes of battle fade away, a new era dawns with Moon Slayer at its helm, ready to conquer whatever challenges lie ahead. The system calculates his rewards, granting him 5,000 experience points and boosting him to level 15. But the rewards don't end there. Moon Slayer is granted a new passive ability, Shadow Step, which permanently enhances his agility by 20. This significant boost in agility elevates his combat prowess to new heights, enabling him to move with unparalleled speed and grace on the battlefield. As if that wasn't enough, Moon Slayer is presented with another reward, the Bloodstained Blade, an epic weapon perfectly suited to his level and class. This formidable weapon possesses a special ability that converts 10% of the damage dealt into self-healing, granting Moon Slayer a potent source of sustenance in the heat of battle. Even the seasoned commentators are taken aback by the sight of such a legendary weapon. The turtle, in his characteristic wisdom, acknowledges the impressive vampiric attribute of the Bloodstained Blade, while the rabbit astutely notes its suitability for prolonged battles. With endurance being crucial in the upcoming events, the Bloodstained Blade proves to be the perfect ally for Moon Slayer as he ventures forth into the challenges that lie ahead. With that settled, Wu Yu wastes no time and gets straight to business. She informs her newfound pet that now that he is healed and has received his rewards, they will proceed with initiating the Storm Cloud catastrophe. Slayer, being new to the Storm Cloud platform, is clueless about what this entails and asks for clarification. Understanding his circumstances, the rabbit explains that the Storm Cloud platform is divided into two parts. The first is the arena battle, which selects the champion. The second part is the Storm Cloud catastrophe, which is triggered right after. This event causes the Storm Cloud champion to descend into the player's world as a limited-time boss. The time limit is 1 hour, and the boss will be tasked with ensuring its survival while hunting down players to gain experience and contribution points. These points can be used for mutual trades, exchanging advanced skills and weapons, and improving one's position and status. Now that it was clear to Slayer, he was about to initiate the next event. However, before he could do that, the sore loser, Zhuan, who couldn't take a loss, confronted them. He tells Wu Yu that this is not over. He couldn't believe Wu Yu dared to openly attack him, the Lord of the North Hall. Zhuan angrily asks if she is declaring war against the North Hall, but seeing that she isn't responding to his questions, he threatens to report the incident to the city lord. Still, she continues ignoring him. Unexpectedly, he starts insulting her, calling her an ambitious, opportunistic chick, accusing her of scheming to get rid of him to seize the military resources in his hands and rebel. Recognizing that staying silent might harm her reputation more than speaking up, she decides to confront him. Lady Wu Yu infuriately calls him out for interrupting the tournament, emphasizing that his actions are a violation of the rules and that he should be punished instead of her. Wu Yu tells him that there is no way a demon like him would be kind-hearted enough to save someone's life. She suspects that Zhuang must have already promised the championship title to the old man from the Blood Claw family, a suspicion that seems closer to the truth than his accusations against her. She points out his audacity to accuse her of rebelling when he is the one constantly meddling and playing both sides like a busybody. Lady Wu Yu then warns him that if he utters another word, she will cut his military salary, halt his military provisions, and stop supplying him with equipment the next time he goes out to battle. Hearing this, Zhuang can only shout her name in anger, fully aware of the serious trouble he would face if she followed through with her threats. Meanwhile, the commentators decide to flee the scene, knowing that if Wu Yu and Zhuang start fighting, they will be the first to perish and even half the city's people will suffer. But before they could leave, Slayer asks the commentators to be quick and take him to participate in the next event first. They open a portal in front of him, but just before Lee can enter it, Lady Wu Yu warns him not to embarrass her. She sternly tells him that if he can't kill 1,000 people, he shouldn't bother coming back to her. Moments later, as Lee, aka the Moon Slayer, descends into the player's world, his random achievement manual triggers. Upon seeing that he has already exceeded level 10, it generates a random mission for him, the one that Wu Yu ordered him to do, requiring him to kill 1,000 players. Luckily for him, he doesn't have to find players that hard since the system announced his arrival to all the players, encouraging them to kill him on the spot. He even spawns in front of a few players who look like fodder, without any clothes on, which can only mean one thing. Their cheeks are ready for some ass whooping. But before he can start, another one of his cheat items detects that his level has increased, automatically equipping onto him and giving him another boost in attributes. And because his quality improves every 10 levels, he receives a randomly assigned class-exclusive skill, with a chance to refresh and obtain a new skill the next time he levels up. As the random skill distribution is in progress, the four bold players launch an attack from all directions. Still, he dodges their every attack. Soon after, the system finally decides on what to give him. A skill named Hunting Scourge Blade. This skill enables him to swiftly deliver 4 slashes to the target, starting at 110 damage and increasing to 150% damage with the last slash. If the target is killed by the skill, the slashes will be retained and automatically target a random enemy within 10 meters to continue the attack. Additionally, it has a powerful passive ability. For each enemy killed by this skill, an additional 150% physical damage slash can be added. Because Slayer is smart, he knows exactly how to use this skill to its full potential. He slashes his way through his opponents, significantly inflicting damage upon them. He understands that as long as he lowers the health of a large number of enemies and then activates his newfound skill, his hunting proficiency will be doubled. Theoretically, he just unlocked auto-hunting. After killing the 4 players, he summons CC to ask if other players can see his location, to which she responds that they can, as the system keeps broadcasting his location to all players in real time. With this knowledge, he feels a surge of black energy covering his body, fired up more than ever, knowing that things just got much simpler for him. As the players appear, he unleashes his unprovoked menace behavior and starts penetrating them left and right. Not long after, only the players' weapons remain. Slayer is now sitting on a branch of a tree, contemplating whether to move to a new location. The number and frequency of players gathering are decreasing, and he can't pick up the players' equipment either, so there's no point in staying further. But before he can leave, another ambitious individual appears, daring to think he's the protagonist of the story and planning on taking all the weapons for himself. Slayer decides to put this individual where he belongs, slicing his windpipe instantly. The number of players he killed increases to 444, but it's still not enough. So he decides to search for more players, but before he can do that, the interaction with the ambitious player gives him an idea. So he sends off his brother, Afe, the coordinates of his current location and tells him to go there by himself. Afe assumes that his brother is going to treat him or even give him some items to help his adventures, so he hurries to the location as fast as he can. However, he doesn't expect to witness a few hundreds of them, leaving him shocked in disbelief. Somewhere in another part of the forest, a lightning strike pierces up to the sky. This occurs because of a single player defeating an epic boss by herself. This player is none other than Luna, a Moonlight Knight who holds the title of Dazzling Nova, which can only be attained by reaching the top 100 in the region. She is now stronger since she just obtained an epic-level bracelet named the Heart of Resilience, giving her a boost in attributes. It also has a special ability with a 20% chance to be triggered if the user is experiencing control attacks, giving her a boost in resistance by 20 points. While she stands menacingly, Slayer is sitting at the top of the tree branch again, amazed at this player's skills. Intrigued by witnessing a player soloing an epic-level boss for the first time, Slayer asks CC to look up information on the Moonlight Knight class. She does just that and shows him that the Moonlight Knight is a hidden class among swordsmen, possessing balanced attributes. All of the Moonlight Knight's attacks have both physical and magical attributes. In summary, it has a low entry requirement with high ceiling potential. Meanwhile, Luna notices that she's being watched and wonders who it is. However, her train of thought is disrupted by a bunch of uncles trying to scam her in order to take the epic item out of her hands and into their pockets. However, Luna isn't naive. Instead of wasting time with their attempted scam, she proposes to fight for the item. Try and be smart. One of the uncles still tries to deceive her and even attempts to get her number. Luna isn't having any of it and provokes them to try and take her loot if they're confident. The goons don't hesitate to accept the challenge. But as soon as they're in range, they realize that Luna is not to be messed with. She slices them up like apples, making a spectacle out of them as her starlight slash illuminates the place like a star. Just as the uncle descends, he realizes he has bitten off more than he can chew. Still, he tries to intimidate Luna using his guild's name to escape his predicament. He warns her that if she kills him now, his guildmates will hunt her down. However, Luna is unfazed by his threats and swiftly slices up his ugly face. With that settled, she then calls out to the person who was looking at her from above to come down and face her. Surprisingly, he willingly complies. As Luna looks at him closer, she's caught off guard because she didn't expect the peeping bastard to be a boss-level monster. While Slayer is amazed that she actually spotted him, they both hesitate to face each other, knowing that fighting would be costly and challenging, not worth it. Surprisingly, as they contemplate their next move, a multitude of players materialize out of nowhere surrounding them both. Spotting Luna, one of them accuses her of bullying their guild members, while another suggests showing her some swagger as they resolve to avenge their brothers. Meanwhile, Luna remarks that they have arrived sooner than expected. It seems they are divided into two groups. One side targets Lumina due to her decapitation of the uncles, while the other is a raiding party intent on defeating Slayer. With no other choice, they know exactly what to do next. They simultaneously launch themselves at each other, only to split up at the last second and move behind the party that is not targeting them. Because of this, the group ignores them, allowing the two of them to successfully escape. Not long after, both parties realize what happened and decide to chase their targets simultaneously. As a result, the two parties unintentionally crash into each other, but neither group is willing to move out of the way. This confrontation escalates as both groups try to force their way through. However, to their surprise, this was a premeditated move all along. Luna and Slayer return, giving them the two-piece and starting to violate them from all angles. Seeing such a spectacle, the players panic, and even if they have allies within the ranks, they start blasting, but this only makes things worse, causing a domino effect in which they end up fighting each other instead of their own respective targets. Ultimately, the high-level ones survive, hoping they manage to kill their targets. To their dismay, it wasn't what they hoped for. Instantly, the Slayer activates his Edge of the Hunt, killing them all non-stop like a perpetual motion killing machine. With this, the number of players he killed amounts to 999. Coincidentally, Luna is still alive and looking for another player may take some time, so it seems like fighting her is inevitable. Without hesitation, they both leap at each other to end this, and just like that, the system congratulates Slayer for completing the random achievement task. Later, somewhere in the real world, a white-haired girl in a wheelchair enjoys the view of the sea. This girl is none other than Luna, and it seems she is from a wealthy family, considering the fact that she has a maid and an insanely cool VR headset. She belongs to the Bai family. The maid informs her that her parents are calling her for dinner, but she isn't planning on joining them now as she just encountered an interesting boss. Instead, she heads to her quarters and writes a rough estimate of what she might know about the boss she encountered, determined to defeat that bony son of a gun one day. Meanwhile, as Slayer passes through the portal, the random achievement tone detects that he has completed his mission of killing 1,000 players and grants him random rewards. The system grants him the mythical tier item, the Enchanted Divine Earrings. These earrings allow the holder to transform their own race, and after transformation, the holder gains race-specific appearance, race-specific passive talent, and mastery of its language. Contented to receive such a worthy reward for his efforts, Slayer acknowledges that this item has both great applicability and functionality. Then his system interface pops up congratulating Slayer for completing the Storm Cloud Cataclysm. For his amazing performance, the system settles to reward him with 1,000 contribution points and a significant amount of experience points, leveling him up to level 21. With this, he acquires yet another skill, the Rending Burst Blade. This skill enhances his next basic attack, dealing 180% of physical damage to the target while ignoring 20% of the target's physical defense. Additionally, there's a 20% chance to inflict the target with a bleeding status. Soon after he steps out of the portal, he is greeted by the loud cheers of the countless crowds who have seen what he just did. Even the commentators are thoroughly impressed. The quick-witted rabbit extends its congratulations to the new move Slayer for conquering the Storm Cloud Cataclysm and reaching the remarkable feat of eliminating 1,000 enemy players. The turtle adds its approval, giving a thumbs up and affirming that the Slayer is truly worthy of the title of genius, dubbing them a rising star of the Storm Cloud. His incredible feat doesn't escape the envy of others, including Zhuang. Slayer notices Zhuang's resentment as that idiot couldn't even look him in the eyes. With victory secured, the Moon Slayer pays no mind to Zhuang. Instead, he redirects his attention toward the sexy baddie in front of him. Lady Wu Yu recognizes his dependability as he hadn't embarrassed her, which makes her quite delighted, resulting in a genuine smile. Seeing him as worthy of her attention, she gestures with her hands, opening a portal before them. With a willing heart, Slayer follows her through the portal, stepping into one of the secret realms. the evolutionary blood pool within the Blood Moon City. This confuses Slayer as he looks at it because there is nothing about it in the game he designed. He wonders what is really going on, but his train of thought is interrupted by Wu Yu asking him if he has a clue about the reason why. Even though the Blood Claw's level was adjusted to the same level as his, he was able to easily defeat others. Slayer responds confidently, explaining that he knows the reason. It's because of bloodline, to which she confirms. She explains that just like equipment has different qualities, each monster's attribute varies greatly due to bloodline differences, and his bloodline is the lowest. Seeing that they are talking about bloodlines, Slayer asks if the place they're standing right now is related to breaking through bloodline attributes. Wu Yu responds that it is exactly what he assumed, and this is one of the secret realms under her jurisdiction, the Blood Pool's secret realm. Since she acknowledges his worth, she tells him to pick any area he likes and jump in. However, before that, she reminds him not to get his hopes up since his evolution still depends on his luck. Meanwhile, in the Blood Moon City's North Hall, Zhuang is having a tantrum, thinking about how Lady Wu Yu just disrespected him in front of a crowd. His blood keeps boiling in rage. He reflects that if it weren't for that useless brat from the Lion Clan, he wouldn't have lost so much face. Seeing that this might get out of control, one of his advisors beside him tries to calm him down. The advisor tells him that he shouldn't be this furious because this might not be such a bad thing. After all, the Lion Clan has always intended to be on good terms with him, and through this incident they saw that he is willing to get hurt to protect their descendants. He concludes that this will surely strengthen their loyalty towards him. But even after all of that, Zhuang admits to his advisor that he can't swallow his anger, and it's really getting on his nerves how uncomfortable it is. The advisor subtly suggests to Zhuang that while they may not be able to directly harm Wu Yu, there are alternative methods to provoke her. Leaning in, the advisor whispers the plan discreetly to Zhuang, who listens intently. A wicked grin spreads across Zhuang's face as he decides to proceed with the advisor's cunning scheme. Meanwhile, the Moon Slayer has already dipped himself into the pool of blood and was now in the process of evolution, while Wu Yu observes his progress. She couldn't help but be fascinated as Slayer's absorption speed was quite fast, indicating his high potential. However, her train of thought gets disrupted by someone calling out her name. She turns around to see the City Lord's mansion Black Death Guards asking her to come with them, as the City Lord has given them an order to summon her to the main city immediately. She informs them that she is quite busy at the moment and cannot go with them. Instead, she requests that they wait until she is available. However, they are not subordinate to her and have no intention of obeying her commands. The captain presents her with the City Lord's blood summon decree indicating their authority. It is revealed that upon receiving the blood summon decree, the recipient must promptly present themselves to the City Lord, and failure to comply will result in merciless execution. With this, she doesn't have a choice but to go with them, but before she leaves Slayer behind, she delivers a cryptic message informing him about occasional rock falls in the nearby mountain, advising him to look out for that to avoid getting crushed accidentally. The captain couldn't help but smile, as everything was according to their plan. Shortly after, Lady Wu Yu and the guards depart, leaving the Moon Slayer all alone. The evolution of Moon Slayer continued unabated, nearing its completion as the surrounding blood intensified, shrouding his entire body. Before long, he was nowhere to be seen as the blood had completely covered him. It turns out that it was the moment the others had been eagerly awaiting, knowing that it is the time the Slayer would be unable to cancel his evolution process and vulnerable to attacks. Appearing from behind the rocks, the lower commander of Zhuang's Shadow Squad signals his subordinates to strike the Moon Slayer, and they waste no time in launching their assault. However, unbeknownst to them, Slayer's absorption speed far exceeds their expectations. He awakens, fully prepared to teach these fools a lesson in the true meaning of skill and superiority. Simultaneously, Wu Yu and the guards ascend the mountain trail. The captain happily grins, seeing that even a powerful entity like Lady Wu Yu can't do anything but be obedient when she saw the blood summoning order. Meanwhile, from her vantage point below, Lady Wu Yu notes the commencement of the ritual. Suddenly, she chooses to stop following them, opting instead to perch upon a nearby rock. Surprised, the captain inquires about the sudden pause, but she finds no need to explain herself, simply relishing the sight of her blood pool below, where a few nosy bugs are racing each other to kill Slayer first in order to get the credit. The quickest bug manages to strike where Slayer had been resting, shattering the spherical blood formation. Now they stand in anticipation, awaiting the remnants of their target. To their astonishment, Slayer remains intact, perplexing the assassins who had clearly seen him getting struck down. Even the assailant who delivered the blow felt his attack connected. Still, seeing that their target was standing, they didn't hesitate to make sure this motherflush was deceased. However, as soon as they got a closer look at their target, shock fills their eyes as they realized that Slayer had completed his evolution and came out smoking hot. Now they are questioning their sexuality, but even before they could react, Slayer had decapitated them both. The lower commander is shocked to see Slayer completed his evolution as well, but they still need to get things done. So he commands his subordinates to charge together, which they immediately do. With teamwork, they launch a coordinated attack, but Slayer simply takes a step back to dodge it because these little dodos were slow as heck. And what's even more surprising is that he had violated them without them even noticing, as Slayer is now on a whole nother level. They didn't even realize they were dead until they saw their heart in Slayer's hand, completely shocking them all. The lower commander can't have that. He can't let that disrespect slide. So he attacks Slayer with everything he has, embedding his blade with a powerful aura that multiplies his strength. However, Slayer is on demon time right now, so he easily dodges them all. He proves to be a total menace as he doesn't even take this fight seriously at all. He's even smiling deviously while doing that light-skinned stare. With this, the lower commander acknowledges his defeat. He offers no resistance as Slayer inflicts significant damage, effortlessly tearing off his left arm. Left with no other option, he steps back, reflecting on his life choices and pondering where it all went wrong. All the information given to him about Slayer has misled him, but even if he realizes this, he can't just dip out of here. He has to kill Slayer since this mission was entrusted to him by Zhuang, and he is not willing to tarnish his master's name. So he summons the other hidden assassin to his aid to complete their mission with everything on the line, which they fully understand. Therefore, they perform a ritual to boost the lower commander, giving him immense power that buffs his overall abilities. He even regenerates his limb because of this and is now looking to kill Slayer. Meanwhile, Slayer remains calm. The lower commander is still an idiot in Slayer's eyes, and the lower commander's actions only serve to confirm Slayer's assessment as he willingly hurls himself into Slayer's range. Seizing the moment, Slayer swiftly reverts to his skeletal form as the commander draws near, leading the commander to believe that Slayer's evolution is deteriorating. This false belief boosts the commander's confidence in winning the match, driving him to persist in his strike. To the lower commander's surprise, Slayer effortlessly evades his strike, leaving him baffled as to why his attack missed. Confusion clouds his mind as he struggles to understand Slayer's evasion. In the midst of his confusion, he discovers he can't retract his hand, panic gripping him as Slayer transforms back into his demon form. In a swift motion, Slayer decapitates him, leaving the lower commander in shock as he witnesses his own headless body. Meanwhile, on the side, Lady Wu Yu applauds Slayer's performance, delighted to see that his harvest went quite smoothly. Slayer asks if these assassins were from Zhuan, to which she confirms. She tells him that even the guards who took her were connected to Zhuan, but she had already sent them away. With this information, Slayer realizes that she knew what their motives were from the start, so he asks her if this was his second test. However, as he approached her and the view became clearer, Lady Wu Yu noticed that he was quite well equipped down there, and she was looking at it more than she should, which embarrassed Slayer, causing him to hide it from her. Surprisingly, she was quite thirsty and commanded him to take his hands off right this instant. With that settled, she told him that she was quite satisfied with his performance, and she asked what he wanted as she could grant him one wish. Slayer, however, is not horny, as he only wants one thing, and that is to know where his brother is. So he asks Wu Yu the whereabouts of his brother, Han Yixiao, which makes her sigh, and she brings the bad news to him that he was already gone. Lu Li, the Moon Slayer, stares at Lady Wu Yu with a serious expression, clearly eager to know what happened to Han Yixiao. Lady Wu Yu points out that this is the second question he's asked. She notices his tightly clenched fists, a sign of his growing anger. Feeling a bit sorry for him, she agrees to tell him, but only if he answers her question first. She recalls the past events and mentions that ever since he heard about Han Yixiao at the competition, he frequently glanced at her. Then he decided to put his best foot forward, all in an attempt to get close to her and uncover the truth about her student. Turns out he's been playing detective the whole time. The Slayer realizes she's curious and reveals that Han Yixiao is his older brother. He then drifts into a memory of his distant childhood while he and his brothers live in an orphanage. 3 bullies laugh loudly, one of them holding a pink rabbit toy. The boy in the middle showcases the rabbit, laughing and suggesting they continue playing. His little brother, Afi, trembles with fear, pleading for the rabbit's return because his mother gave it to him. Lu Li, despite being beaten and bruised, stands strong in front of Afi to protect him. One of the bullies mimics Afi's plea to annoy him. Another bully throws away the book he's holding and mocks Lu Li, asking if he's still pretending to be a hero. The ringleader in the middle laughs at them, holding the rabbit by its paws with both hands. Smiling wickedly, he reminds them that this is an orphanage, and they are all adopted by his mother. He declares they are nothing more than trash. With a cruel grin, he rips off the rabbit's paws, claiming that everything here belongs to him and he can do whatever he wants with it. Apparently, he's decided that being a villain is his full-time job. Afi starts crying and pleads for the rabbit to be returned. Luli grabs something hidden in his jacket and walks towards them. He pulls out a pen with a sharp tip, ready to fight. Suddenly, someone leaps towards the bullies from behind, swinging a stick and shouting to draw their attention. This newcomer lands a solid blow to the head of the bully who tore the rabbit's legs off, using a broom. He delivers a series of hard punches to the three bullies, leaving them unable to retaliate. It's like watching a kid's superhero movie, but with brooms and toy rabbits. The bully who broke the toy bunny admits he made a mistake and begs for mercy. The guy with the broom lets them go, and they run away, loudly calling for their mother. The broom-wielding hero picks up the pink bunny, turns around and assures them everything is fine now. Afe looks at him with strong admiration and says he's cool. Luli, still in disbelief, asks who he is and why he helped them. The guy smiles and introduces himself as Han Yixiao. He tells them that if they ever have problems, they just need to smile and everything will be okay. From now on, he promises to protect them and ensure no one bullies them again. It seems Han Yixiao wasn't just a hero, he was also a philosopher with a broom. In present, Lu Li, Aka the Slayer, replies to Lei Wuyu that Han Yixiao is the closest person to him like family. Lei Wuyu, deep in thought, doesn't respond but remembers something from the past. She recalls Han Yixiao calling her master and smiling as he asks if she can give him some ordinary weapons. He mentions he has two younger brothers and, as the older brother, wants to give his best to them. Lady Wuyu then murmurs the word infernal purgatory with a thoughtful expression. The Slayer, standing in front of her, doesn't understand and asks what it means. Well, infernal purgatory doesn't exactly sound like a vacation destination. She looks at him and says she remembers something from some time ago. She recalls the commentators at Stormcloud Arena. Quick Rabbit exclaims in amazement how Han Yixiao defeated the King of Knights Davidan, successfully defending his title as Stormcloud King. The other commentator, Slowest Turtle, notes that Han Yixiao has won 10 victories in a row, becoming a real legend. Wuyu continues, saying that after his 10th consecutive win, Han Yixiao entered the Stormcloud Tribulation, but did not return. She recalls the time Quick Rabbit remarked that the Stormcloud Tribulation battle ended 4 hours ago, and it's impossible that Han Yixiao hasn't returned since the competition had already ended. Lady Wuyu explains that she searched for him for a long time, but eventually discovered that the last place he was seen was in infernal purgatory. Well, it looks like Han Yixiao went from winning battles to exploring places no one wants to visit. The Slayer, realizing Lady Wuyu knows Han Yixiao's location, starts to speak, but Wuyu interrupts. She explains that she cannot teleport to infernal purgatory because the place is blocked by an unknown force, making it impossible to reach. The Slayer processes this information and starts to wonder what his options are if no one can teleport to infernal purgatory. He then calls for his elf assistant, named CC. She instantly appears next to him and assures her owner that she is ready to help. Looks like the Slayer has a few tricks up his sleeve and some handy assistance. The Slayer asks CC to check the information about infernal purgatory. CC begins to search but suddenly encounters interference and the system notifies her that the request was rejected or an error occurred. The Slayer, puzzled, asks if there is an error and tells her to query the database. CC informs him that he does not have the necessary powers. Determined, he instructs CC to switch the interface to manual input. Wuyu, observing the scene, wonders if he's talking to himself. Little does she know the Slayer's tech-savvy skills are just as sharp as his combat ones. The Slayer looks at the system window that opens in front of him and takes a deep breath to calm down and think. Infernal Purgatory is where Han Yixiao was last online and spotted, so he knows he can find the answer there. The system window prompts him to enter a password. The Slayer types in his password and clicks the Continue button. The system then displays his user number as 1288 and grants him access to the database. An endless stream of binary code appears around him, creating a digital landscape. He examines the numerous system windows, each containing valuable information. The system notifies him that he needs to retrieve the infernal purgatory code. The Slayer is taken aback by the system's response and asks what kind of code it is demanding. The system promptly alerts him that an illegal intrusion has been detected, triggering a closure protocol. Undeterred, the Slayer commands the system to reveal the original code, but the red warning windows persist, leaving him puzzled. He wonders if the original code is being rewritten. The system notifies him of a forced expulsion process underway. The surrounding system windows begin to vanish, leaving the Slayer bewildered by how it's all happening. It seems even digital realms have their own set of surprises and mysteries. Lady Wuyu, standing beside him, asserts that this is all she knows about infernal purgatory, suggesting that if he doubts it, he should investigate for himself. The Slayer considers her words, realizing that visiting that place might provide the answers he seeks. He approaches her and requests permission to ask a question. Lady Wu Yu inquires if he intends to ask a third question. The Slayer then asks her how he can go to that realm. Lady Wu Yu explains that her knowledge is confined to the storm cloud tribulation, emphasizing there's a time limit involved as well. She notes that he is being a little impatient. She reveals that his brother, Hem Yexiao, has awakened twice in the evolution blood pool, but has yet to return, and now despite his current state, he's determined to go there again as well. The Slayer reflects on her words, remaining silent for a moment. Just then, Cece floats up to him with a smile, confidently informing her owner that she knows how to return to the game. He was surprised when he heard this and asks how he can accomplish such a feat. Cece flies away and tells him to follow her. Wu Yu stops him, asking where he's going. The Slayer turns to her and explains that there's a method that will enable him to enter the player's world. She doesn't initially understand what he means by the world of players. He mentions that it is the realm she always talks about, the other side. Lady Wu Yu finds this intriguing and expresses she will wait for good news from him. It looks like the Slayer is embarking on a new quest, with potential answers and discoveries awaiting in the world of players. Meanwhile, in a vast forest, a powerful explosion rips through, annihilating a large group of monsters in an instant. Their bodies burn out rapidly from the intense blast. Ah Fei, now a 23rd level fire mage, casually remarks that it was too easy, wondering if there are stronger monsters around. Several girls rush up to him, admiring Ah Fei and gushing about how handsome and wonderful he is. They're so taken with him that he even shares some potions with them. Looks like Ah Fei's not just a powerful mage, but a heartthrob among adventurers too. One of the girls admits she was scared and asks Ah Fei to hug her. He stands with a pleased expression as the three girls surround him, blushing profusely. Looking at one of the girls, he recalls something and asks if the merchant who collects high-quality weapons is here. All three girls confirm and urge him to hurry, mentioning that the merchant offers a very favorable purchase price. Ah Fei laughs and affirms that he'll indeed spend money on weapons for each of the girls. They follow him eagerly, asking if he's serious and expressing their affection for him. Suddenly, something strange catches his attention up ahead. He realizes he's surrounded by a large group of people approaching, laughing. Among them is a man with very pale skin and a katana who declares that Ah Fei is caught. Looks like Ah Fei's peaceful shopping spree just took an unexpected turn into a confrontation. Ah Fei prepares to use his magic, instructing everyone to take cover behind him. He senses something amiss behind him and turns around. He sees the girls smiling at him. Unexpectedly, they deliver powerful blows to his back, catching him completely off guard. Ah Fei collapses to the ground, blood flowing from his wounds, shocked and hurt. He asks why they would betray him like this. The girls, one by one, ask Ah Fei if he's wondering who they really are. They reveal themselves as members of Northward Guild. Then they go on to greet each other for their big win, revealing themselves as big, second, and third brother. Ah Fei, trembling from his severe wounds, struggles to comprehend their betrayal and asks what they mean by big, second, and third brother. The girls smile at him and take turns explaining that their beauty was a deception. It was all a grand scam. They believe in leaving pain to others while seizing wealth for themselves. They are the members of Northward Guild, who adopted female avatars, Mai Shen, Mai Qian, and Mai Ming. They then request Ah Fei to guide them. Ah Fei becomes furious, strong fiery energy radiating from him. He declares their deception unforgivable and demands the truth. The pale-skinned guy watches him rise and remarks that Ah Fei doesn't seem ready to cooperate yet. Two players from Guild North immediately channel their powerful energy into their hands and rush towards Ah Fei. Undeterred, Ah Fei channels his own energy into his hands, and just as they reach him, he simultaneously punches them, unleashing his very strong fire magic. The explosive clash of energies sends shockwaves through the area, proving that Ah Fei is not someone to be trifled with. With his fiery attack, Ah Fei defeats the two guys. However, more guild members rush towards him from behind in a large crowd. Noticing their approach, Ah Fei quickly turns to face them and prepares to use his fire magic again. He waves his hand, releasing a powerful burst of magical energy that immediately annihilates the incoming attackers. Looks like Ah Fei is turning up the heat, and these guild members are getting more than they bargained for. Ah Fei grins, not immediately noticing the arrows swiftly flying toward him. Just then, Mei Shen rushes toward Ah Fei, hands filled with energy, announcing that she is here. Ah Fei retaliates in time, and both of their energies collide with each other. Ah Fei is thrown back, cursing and thinking to himself that he doesn't have any mana potions left. He has spent too much. Mai Qian taunts him, asking if something is wrong and why he isn't doing well. Mai Ming, meanwhile, shows off 99 mana restoration potions and mocks Ah Fei, asking if these are what he needs. Mei Shen extends his hand and tells Ah Fei to be smart and hand over the boss's equipment. Looks like Ah Fei is in a tight spot, surrounded and low on resources. It's a classic give us the loot or else moment. Surrounded and threatened by their people, Ah Fei knows they mean business. They warn him that if he doesn't cooperate, they'll take action and strip him of his last weapon. Instead of giving in, Ah Fei calms himself, takes a deep breath, and prepares to do something unexpected. With defiance in his eyes, he gives them 2 middle fingers and begins scolding them loudly and relentlessly, using the nastiest words he can muster. His tirade is so intense that even the nearby birds take flight, fleeing from the commotion. It seems Ah Fei's fiery spirit isn't limited to his magic. He's got fiery tongue to match. The guild leader, seething with anger, draws his sword and prepares to attack Ah Fei, shouting for him to shut up. Ah Fei stands still, a sad expression on his face, mentally apologizing to his brother for being so foolish and deceived by scammers. Despite the imminent threat, he remains calm, bracing himself for whatever comes next. Looks like Ah Fei is ready to face the consequences, even in the face of his own mistakes. Just as the head of the Northward Guild charges at Ah Fei, a red silhouette swiftly intercepts and defeats him in a single blow. It's Lu Li, Aka the Slayer, arriving just in time to save his brother. Ah Fei is greatly surprised and relieved to see him. The Slayer turns to the rest of the guild members, his expression full of fury. He declares that none of them will leave this place. Looks like the tables have turned and the Slayer is ready to unleash his wrath on those who dared to harm his brother. Ah Fei, equally surprised, looks at his brother and asks if it's really him. His shock deepens when he realizes it truly is. Lu Li, Aka the Moon Slayer, taking on a human race transformation, stands before him with the strength of a 23rd level warrior. The Slayer turns around and quips he was only away for a short while and Ah Fei already got into trouble. Ah Fei bursts into tears, grabs his brother's leg, and loudly confesses that it was all their fault. They not only tried to steal his weapon, but also deceived him. The guys from the Mai family watch this and remark that it looks like help has finally arrived for Ah Fei. Mei Ming thinks this must be the brother Ah Fei was talking about and wonders if he's rich too. That sounds reasonable. They conclude with evil grins. They laugh wickedly and declare that they will become rich. Pointing at the brothers, they command their allies to attack. Ah Fei, sensing danger, tells his brother that he should leave his back to him. The Mei brothers stand still, waiting for reinforcements. But to their shock, no one comes to their aid. They soon realize that all the members of the Northward Guild have already been killed by the Moon Slayer. It seems their plan for a quick fortune is about to backfire spectacularly. Ah Fei swiftly approaches the Mai brothers from behind, startling them with a loud scream. He looks at them with a sly smile and asks if they were the ones who said they would make him a dead man. Mei Shen quickly addresses him as brother, insisting they were just joking. However, Ah Fei grabs them tightly and declares loudly that he's not their brother but their big daddy. Looks like Ah Fei isn't letting them off the hook easily after their betrayal and threats. Sometime later, Ah Fei and Lu Li walk through the forest, with Ah Fei reflecting on the Northward Guild's misdeeds, acknowledging their robberies and other wrongdoings. The Slayer agrees with his sentiments. Ah Fei asks his brother how he managed to find him and what progress he's made on their big brother's matter. The Slayer mentions infernal purgatory and explains that is all he currently knows about the last place their big brother was seen. Ah Fei nods in approval, praising his second brother's skills. With a clear goal in mind, they are now determined to pursue their next steps. Lu Li, wearing a serious expression, remarks that the place where their brother was last seen isn't on the game map. He speculates it could be a high-level area beyond their current abilities. Ah Fei asks what they should do next and assures his brother he'll follow his lead. The Slayer responds that their first step should be heading to the nearest town to assess their equipment and gather supplies. Ah Fei chimes in happily, noting they can also make money in the process. He jokes about how he'll never trust online profiles again after being deceived by seemingly good girls who turned out to be guys. Ah Fei comments on Lu Li's dark skin, expressing how cool he thinks it looks. He asks his brother how he achieved that look and jokes that he wants a makeover too. They continue walking toward town, discussing their plans and catching up on their experiences. Sometime later, they reach the Nekenda town in the southern suburbs. The Slayer walks through the city, feeling like he has finally returned to a familiar game. As he strolls, he receives a friend request from Miao Miao, which he promptly rejects without hesitation. Meanwhile, Ah Fei notices a girl who catches his eye and finds her attractive. Gathering his courage, he approaches her and asks if they have met before or if it's just his imagination. At the same time, 2 men approach an old man who specializes in recycling equipment to sell their items. After the transaction, one of them expresses disappointment, noting that the equipment they sold is only worth a few hundred gold coins. He wonders when they will finally get a purple piece of equipment. The wolf man with him sighs, saying they should focus on leveling up first. The calm old man reassures that the recycling price he offers is fair and justified for young and old alike. Luli and Ah-Fei approach the old man, and the man asks Luli and Ah-Fei if they need to dispose of their equipment, and they agree with him. The old man takes out a cube with a sword icon inside and announces that there is a substantial amount of high-quality equipment, totaling 95,000 gold coins in value. He asks Luli and Ah-Fei if they agree to this valuation. Ah-Fei is pleasantly surprised by the sum, exclaiming how cool it is in calculating its value in real-world currency, noting it amounts to tens of thousands of dollars at current exchange rates. Luli gives a thumbs up in agreement and then mentions to the old man that his hair are cool. The unexpected comment surprises both the old man and his brother. The old man leans closer to Luli and asks if he really thought that. However, he compliments Luli, noting that he himself is a very elegant guy. Just then, the system congratulates Luli on the successful launch of the Commodity Traders program, increasing the possibility of receiving a discount by 10%. Confused, Ah-Fei asks what just happened and wonders if he somehow influenced the salesman. Luli explains that these are little tricks programmed into the game by developers. He recalls the game developer with the same hairstyle, remembering the developer saying that if he cannot change his baldness, then he shall change the world. Luli tells Ah-Fei that he can take the money for himself. Ah-Fei, overjoyed, starts to say that if he becomes a woman, he will definitely. But he doesn't finish his sentence because Luli interrupts him, telling him to shut up. The system congratulates Ah-Fei for receiving 100,000 gold coins, notifying him that he has completed the achievement Tons of Wealth. Ah-Fei tells his brother that they have more equipment to sell. Luli agrees, noting that they haven't reached the right place yet. Sometime later, they arrive at the auction house where a huge crowd has gathered. Ah-Fei looks at the impressive building in surprise, remarking that this auction house is amazing and it's his first time coming here. Someone with a microphone walks up to Ah-Fei and asks if it's his first time at an auction and what he thinks about it. Ah-Fei glances around and mentions there are a lot of people here. Outside the auction building, the large crowd is getting restless. They loudly complain that everything is taking too long. Some ask if things can move faster, while others wonder how much longer they can wait. It's like a group of kids impatiently waiting for recess to start. A short guy approaches two guards standing at the door and calls them brothers. He explains he is only a few hundred coins short of entering the competition and really needs an item. He asks if they could do him a favor. The two guards dismiss him, saying it's none of their concern. They follow the rules. Starting capital is 10,000. They tell him it will be easier if he leaves and not waste their time. Other people get very angry with him, accusing him of being the only one wasting their time. They wonder where he even came from and demand he gets out of the way. It's like he's a mosquito at a barbecue, and everyone just wants to swat him away. Suddenly, someone walks up to the short guy and puts a hand on his shoulder. Other people get even angrier, asking if they are finished yet and telling them not to block the path. They grumble about how even poor people want to take part in the auction now. Ah-Fei steps in and says this guy is coming with them, so they should split up. The two guards tell him to wait. They notice an inscription appear above Ah-Fei's head, mentioning his achievement, Tons of Wealth. Realizing he's very rich, the two guards immediately open a huge door, from behind which a bright golden glow can be seen. It's like opening a treasure chest in a video game, and everyone's eyes sparkle with the reflection. They point to the door and apologize for the delay, inviting the dear guests to come in and wishing them a pleasant stay. Once inside, they see a large crowd of people standing close to each other. The short guy they helped expresses his gratitude, promising to repay them when he gets the chance. Ah-Fei waves it off, saying he doesn't need to worry about it. The guy nods and says goodbye to them. It's like a scene from a cheesy drama, but without the dramatic background music. A lady in a black dress approaches them and welcomes them. She introduces herself as their guide, the Eight of Hearts. She presents a VIP card and explains that given Ah-Fei's super rich status, they automatically applied for a gold card. She gives a brief description of its functions. First, cardholders can enter without queuing. Second, when selling items at the auction house, a commission is reduced from 10% to 5%. Third, with this card, you can submit an application to the auction house for a loan at the amount depending on its credit limit. It's like getting an all-access pass to the coolest club in town, but with way more perks and no bouncers to worry about. Ah-Fei takes his card and asks if he can use it to penetrate her heart. The Eight of Hearts looks confused and asks what he means. Ah-Fei steps closer and asks if she believes in love at first sight. Luli stands next to him, staying silent about this awkward flirting attempt. Just then, Luna passes by. Luli notices her immediately. Eight of Hearts points to a door and tells them they must go into a separate room, assuring them they'll be made comfortable. They walk into the room together, and she sets several bowls on the table, inviting them to help themselves to tea. She mentions their goods will be put up for auction, and as epic equipment is very high in demand at the moment, they can expect the auction to end within the hour. It's like being in a fancy waiting room, except instead of old magazines, they get tea and the promise of quick riches. The Eight of Hearts summons a weapon from her inventory and mentions that their epic-level sword, Stardust, is a unique weapon. She assures them that at the current level, this auction will definitely fetch a good price for it. She suggests they attend the auction themselves if they have time, as there might be other items of interest. Hafi leans towards her and asks if she will go too, explaining that he doesn't understand a lot of things and doesn't have time to finish. Before he can continue, Luli hits him hard on the head and says they just need a list of items. They'll pick them up in an hour. The Eight of Hearts agrees to this plan, looking amused at the banter between them. It's like trying to plan a heist with a distracted teammate who keeps getting sidetracked like shiny objects. After some time in the hall where the auction is taking place, the man standing on the stage announces that all participants must sit down as the auction will start very soon. As the leader of this auction, he hopes everyone is familiar with the rules and wishes them success in acquiring what they need. The participants begin to applaud him, showing their appreciation. The presenter then points to the girl carrying the first item and thanks the audience for their warm greeting. With that, the auction officially begins. It's like the start of a thrilling game show, with bids instead of spinning wheels and prizes worth fortunes. Their first treasure is a fiery heart. With this item, one can alter their weapon properties. Plus, when facing forest monsters, there will be an additional damage bonus. The presenter asks who wants to have a weapon that can control flame and announces the starting price at 20,000 gold coins. Bidding begins eagerly. The guy wearing the skin of some animal raises his hand and bets 25,000 gold coins. Next, a magician with red hair raises his hand and increases the bid to 28,000 gold coins. Number 96, the guy with brown hair, smiles broadly and confidently raises his hand, bidding 35,000 gold coins. He's sure that no one will top his bid and that the fiery heart will be his. The presenter calls out loudly, asking if anyone will offer more money. Number 96 continues to smile, thinking to himself that he has bet everything he has at 35,000 gold coins. He believes he can afford to lose this auction item, especially since it's the first lot and no one else will bid higher than him. It's like a poker game where he's pushed all of his chips into the middle, convinced he's holding the winning hand. The host begins to count down from 3, almost declaring number 96 the winner, but at the last moment, Han Shao, the man with number 9, raises his hand and confidently bids 50,000 gold coins. The host announces that number 9 has offered 50,000 coins. People sitting at the auction start murmuring, questioning if the fiery heart is truly worth that much money. Someone recalls that everyone used to trade this item around 28,000 gold coins, wondering aloud who Han Shao is and how he has so much money to bid with. Han Shao's girlfriend, number 95, leans over and asks him if the price is too high. Han Shao replies confidently that as long as she likes it, everything is fine. His girlfriend smiles warmly at his response. The presenter hits the table with a hammer, announcing loudly that the first lot has been sold. Number 9, Han Shao, purchases the fiery heart for 50,000 gold coins. Number 96, who bid 35,000 gold coins, expresses disappointment, stating that he came specifically for this lot. The guy sitting next to him points to number 9, Han Shao, and asks if he doesn't know him, mentioning that Han Shao is a famous crypto magnate. He consoles number 96, saying not to be upset because there will surely be another fiery heart up for auction next time. Witnessing the auction unfold, Afi comments on the situation, calling the person who decided to spend 50,000 gold coins on the fiery heart an idiot. He adds that he doesn't seem to like this Han Shao person much. The presenter announces the second lot, a special costume called Love Maid, Heezing, who would refuse this. The system window details that it's a special maid costume capable of transforming the wearer into a maid. Setting the starting price at 30,000 gold coins, the bidding starts fervently. People immediately begin shouting out their bids, eager to claim the unique costume for themselves. The host announces that number 66 has offered 48,000 gold coins for the maid's costume. Number 66 quickly remarks that he should hurry up and hand it over because he's eager to try it on. To everyone's surprise at the auction, the winner of this lot turns out to be a huge muscular man. The presenter, equally surprised, jokingly tells number 66 that he can wear it at home. Without hesitation, the muscular man dons the maid costume and declares that it's not bad at all, feeling oddly secure in it. Afe, visibly surprised by what he's just witnessed, remarks to his brother that it seems like anything is possible in this game. Luli looks on with equal surprise but doesn't respond to Afe's comment. The host clears his throat and announces they should continue with the auction. The third item up for bid is wolf boots, which increase speed by 2%, starting at a price of 40,000 gold coins. Han Xiao confidently raises his hand and bids 80,000 gold coins. Other bidders exclaim that he's doubled the price and that there's no point in bargaining if he's set on acquiring an item. It's like watching a high-stakes race where the finish line keeps getting further away with each bid. The presenter announces that the wolf boots have been sold, with number 9, Han Xiao, purchasing them for 80,000 gold coins. Next up, Han Xiao bids 50,000 gold coins for the next lot, and the host declares there are no more bids. It's sold. Han Xiao buys the next lot for 90,000 gold coins. He kisses the girl sitting next to him and proceeds to buy another lot for 120,000 gold coins. Continuing his spree, Han Xiao buys all the remaining lots one after another, each at different prices. The other participants start to leave the auction room, grumbling that he's buying everything and they can't compete with his wealth. They question why he even bothered coming if he can afford to buy anything he wants. Ah Fei looks on with displeasure, frustrated by Han Xiao's ability to buy everything at the auction. He expresses his desire to compete and beat him somehow. Lu Li responds calmly, saying that this situation doesn't concern them directly. He suggests relying on his help for now. Confused, Ah Fei asks Lu Li to clarify what he means by relying on his help. He wonders how they can strategize or take action in this situation. The presenter announces that time has flown by and they're nearing the end of the auction. Their final item for today is the epic-level sword, Stardust. According to the system window, Stardust is a sword exclusively for swordsmen, requiring a level of 20. Its stats are impressive. Strength at 90, attack power at 260 points, critical hit chance at 40 points, and speed at 30 points. The features of Stardust include: first, it inflicts attacks with a light attribute. Second, it reduces the opponent's level by 5 upon a successful hit. Third, it increases attack power by 2%. Additionally, Stardust deals additional magical damage. The presenter hypes up Stardust as a rare treasure with unique characteristics, emphasizing its potential to become exceptionally powerful after level 25 or 30. He declares it could rightfully be called the best item at the auction, setting the starting price at 200,000 gold coins. Bidding begins eagerly, and Han Xiao confidently raises the stakes with a bid of 250,000 gold coins. He smirks, believing all the other participants are fools. Han Xiao is certain that no one will dare challenge him now, convinced that anyone with as much money as he is can't possibly be an idiot. It's a showdown that feels like a scene from a high-stakes poker game, where the stakes are legendary weapons instead of chips and pride is on the line as much as gold. Han Xiao maintains a calm expression, considering the auction as a game where he strategically makes small sacrifices for potentially large gains. Ah Fei, smiling confidently, decides to enter the fray, bidding 300,000 gold coins. Han Xiao turns his gaze towards Ah Fei, acknowledging him as a worthy opponent, and counters with 350,000 gold coins. Unfazed, Ah Fei continues to smile and raises the bid to 400,000 gold coins. Han Xiao looks at Ah Fei with curiosity, wondering who he is, as he had never heard of him before. Nevertheless, he raises the bid again to 450,000 gold coins. Ah Fei immediately bets 500,000 gold coins, showing his determination in the auction. Han Xiao, however, pauses to consider whether he should match this bid. He thinks it's too expensive, regardless of how good Stardust might be, especially since it's still in its early stages of development. The girl sitting nearby questions whether Han Xiao should bid any higher, suggesting caution. But Han Xiao's motivations lie beyond the practical value of the items. To him, the auction is about satisfying his desire for adrenaline and competition. With a slight smile, he confidently raises the stakes to 600,000 gold coins. The host announces that number 9, Han Xiao, has bid 600,000 gold coins for Stardust. Ah Fei, ready to counter with a bid of 700,000, is stopped by Lu Li, who intervenes just in time to prevent him from placing the bet. Han Xiao, feeling victorious in his bid, imagines himself standing triumphantly on a high cliff. Just as the presenter is about to conclude the countdown, someone unexpectedly outbids everyone by betting 1 million gold coins. The sudden turn of events surprises Lu Li, Ah Fei, and the host, who all turn to see who made this bold bid. Han Xiao is visibly embarrassed and surprised that someone has outbid him, especially after his confident bidding earlier. It turns out that Luna is the one who made the winning bid. The presenter starts the countdown, and as it ends, Luna successfully wins Stardust back. Afterwards, Lu Li and Ah Fei leave the auction room. Ah Fei is bubbling with excitement, reflecting on the thrill of making money. He exclaims that it's such a pleasure to succeed in auctions like these. Lu Li says that the last million was not the planned income. Luli explains that after selling everything, they've earned 1,520,000 gold coins, subtracting the 200,000 spent on various items, leaving them with 1,320,000 gold coins. Upon receiving the money, Afi notices his VIP card number drop from 8988 to 7450. He's taken aback and asks if this means there are still 7,450 people richer than them in the game. Luli, unaware of someone watching from the rooftop, dismisses the significance of their newfound wealth, emphasizing that they need to move on because it's time for their main task. Afi, eager and enthusiastic, agrees wholeheartedly, ready to proceed with their next endeavor. Unbeknownst to them, Lumina continues to silently observe from her vantage point on the rooftop, her presence lingering as they prepare for their next adventure. Sometime later, a stroll from the southern suburbs of Nakenda Town to Bush Cole Village. Afi, itching for some fun, nudges his brother about a barbecue night out. Luli, though, keeps marching ahead, as silent as a mime in a library. Afi, not one to let silence linger like a bad smell, presses his brother to spill the beans. He's itching to know why this sudden radio silence. Suddenly, Luli stops dead in his tracks, standing like a statue. He giggles ahead and declares that he knows she's been tailing them and demands she reveal herself. Afi whirls around and spots Luna, pointing out she's from the auction house. Connecting the dots faster than a detective in a mystery novel, he assumes a fighting pose and concludes that it all makes sense now. No wonder she was willing to drop a pretty penny on the Stardust sword. She's been playing the long con as a thief all this time. Panicking, Luna denies the accusation vehemently, insisting she has no intentions of harming them. She explains that the weapon auctioned off is actually one she lost previously. Remembering Lu Li, who bested her in skeletal form, she queries how they came to possess the sword. Afi chuckles at her curiosity, teasingly asking if she was wondering where they found her precious weapon. He casually reveals that his second brother snagged it after defeating the boss. Luna is visibly surprised by what he says and wonders if he actually slayed the boss himself. Luna dashes towards them, coming to a halt in front of Lu Li. With a sense of urgency, she asks if he can spar with her for practice. Afi, surprised by her sudden request, wonders what's going on. Lu Li, without looking at her, states that he's done with it all. Afi leans in to quietly inform his brother that Luna seems intent on getting closer to them deliberately. Luna, observing them, remains undeterred, confident that they will clash in the future. As they near the village, Afi remarks to Lu Li that they're almost there and prompts him to spill the beans about the game mission. Lu Li agrees and explains that since it's an early mission, it shouldn't pose too much of a challenge. The general storyline unfolds as follows. The village of Bush Cole is under siege by monsters, and their job is to fend them off. Once they reach the village, they'll learn the reason behind the attacks. Within the village resides a little girl who is a vessel of divine light, coveted by the monsters. Their mission directive is to escort her safely to the Temple of Divine Light. Along the journey, they'll encounter various monsters. The mission culminates in safely delivering the girl to the temple. Only then will their task be complete. It's like delivering pizza, but with more claws and fewer tips. They arrive at the village and Afi expresses confidence to Lu Li, stating that together they can conquer anything. Pointing towards the village, Afi strides forward with a grin, telling Lu Li that he'll take the lead in clearing the path, playfully suggesting Lu Li watch and learn how it's done. Meanwhile, in the village, a woman turns to her sister, eyes wide with concern. She asks if her sister heard those weird sounds. The other woman nods, looking just as spooked, admitting she heard them too. Suddenly, Afi zooms into the scene like a bullet train on overdrive, screaming at the top of his lungs. He dashes forward with superhero-like speed, fueled by adrenaline and a touch of panic. Breathless, he warns the women about monsters lurking nearby, urging them to stay vigilant. Caught off guard, the women shriek in terror, their cries echoing through the village like a poorly tuned opera. Afi's dramatic entrance definitely wasn't on their bingo card for the day. Afi comes to a sudden halt, looking puzzled as he asks the women who they are. They quickly assert their village residency, flipping the question back on him. Shouldn't he be introducing himself first? Embarrassed by the mix-up, Afi stammers out an explanation. He clarifies that he's on a mission to exterminate monsters, not to scare innocent villagers. The women exchange bewildered glances, struggling to process his words. Did he say mission and monsters? One of them whispers incredulously to the other. They start to wonder aloud, could this guy really be a legendary warrior? Is this their chance encounter with the fabled hero of folklore? The women stand closer to Afi, eyes sparkling with curiosity and a hint of admiration. They offer to guide this mysterious warrior to their village, eager to assist him on his mission. Another woman chimes in, boasting about her sister's resourcefulness. She insists that her sister is not only clever, but also keen to lend a hand to Afi. Afi nods appreciatively, acknowledging the villagers' hospitality. As he proceeds, Luli follows him, observing the surroundings. Meanwhile, the villagers erupt in excitement, proclaiming loudly that a legendary warrior has graced their village with his presence. Children gather around, wide-eyed and eager, watching Ah Fei with admiration. He's a legendary warrior who fights villains and destroys evil. The villagers cheer, their words echoing through the village square. Looks like Ah Fei has unintentionally become the star of today's show. Move over, local gossip. There's a new hero in town. One of the villagers steps forward, hands laden with a variety of local items expressing gratitude for Ah Fei's efforts. He invites Ah Fei to visit and explore their signature village treasures. Beside him, another man excitedly gestures towards Ah Fei, asking for his autograph. With a respectful bow, he declares to the villagers that they are in the presence of a legendary warrior, predicting that their village will soon gain renown. This man turns out to be the village chief. The chief raises his hands, calling for applause to welcome the new warriors. Ah Fei leans over to quietly confer with his brother, noting that things seem different from what they were told. He wonders aloud if the mission has been altered by the gaming company. Luli nods thoughtfully, suggesting that while the story's details and the villagers' appearances may have changed, the core essence of the mission remains unchanged. Looks like even in this virtual world, some things are constant, like sticking to the main quest line. The headman booms out a question to the villagers, asking them what the grandest ceremony is for welcoming a warrior. The villagers respond enthusiastically, cheering and declaring that it's a banquet. Eagerly, the villagers gather around the two brothers, insisting they must come along. They promise a feast will begin shortly in honor of the legendary warriors. Moments later, Luli strolls alongside some locals who are already relishing the festivities. He casually inquires about the rumored purple medic flowers blooming nearby, expressing interest in seeing them for himself. The old man nods in agreement, suggesting that they should first rest and enjoy the banquet. He assures them that afterwards, they can explore the blooming purple medic flowers at their leisure. Luli blushes slightly at the attention but looks at the villagers with a hint of suspicion, perhaps wondering if their hospitality has strings attached. Later on, a large crowd of villagers gathers around a table laden with a variety of dishes, enjoying the feast with gusto. Laughter and chatter fill the air as everyone digs into the delicious spread. Ah Fei stands up, eyes wide at the abundance of food spread out before them. Remembering something he read about the game, he insists they must taste everything. It's part of the experience. A villager approaches them with a plate piled high with skewered meat, notably eyeballs. Proudly, he encourages them to try this famous delicacy of their village, popping one into his mouth with a mischievous grin. Luli quickly intervenes, advising Ah Fei not to eat it. He reminds him that they need to focus on finding the girl instead of sampling local cuisine. Ah Fei feels embarrassed and reluctantly agrees, mentioning that just watching them eat makes him feel queasy. They stroll through a large tavern, and Ah Fei comments on the crowd, suggesting they ask around for help. Luli, exuding calmness, steps ahead of him and insists there is no need for that. He assures Ah Fei that with a careful look, finding her won't be difficult. After all, in a place this crowded, someone has to stand out. Hopefully not just the guy trying to juggle 3 mugs of ale at once. Immediately after, they notice a little girl sitting among the villagers, holding an apple and doing absolutely nothing with it. Seriously, how long can someone stare at an apple? Luli approaches her from behind and gently places his hand on her shoulder, startling her a bit. He asks if she wants to go to the Temple of Divine Light. The girl's face lights up with joy as she turns to him, asking if he is the warrior who has come to save her. As if on cue, the system notifies him that he has successfully activated the mission. Immediately after this, the moon changes color, turning an ominous shade of red. The villagers rise from their seats, clearly not for a standing ovation. Ah Fei, sensing something amiss, informs his brother that something is definitely wrong. All the villagers stare at them, walking towards them with eyes glowing red, just your typical creepy village welcome party. One villager's eyes start bulging out of their sockets as if trying to get a better look at the bizarre situation, while his entire body begins trembling violently. He stands up, growing immensely, and smashes a table with a single blow. It seems like they traded apple gazing for an impromptu horror show. Immediately afterward, the transformed villager and the others launch an attack on Luli and Ah Fei, who are standing protectively next to the girl. Both react instantly, moving with impressive speed. Luli summons his dagger, taking down the attacking villager with a single precise blow. Meanwhile, Ah Fei conjures a fireball with his magic, hurling it at another advancing villager. Clearly, these villagers didn't realize they were up against a duo with more tricks than a magician's hat. The monsters they had just defeated collapsed to the ground, mortally wounded, while the remaining creatures pause, staring in surprise. After a few tense seconds, a large crowd of villagers begins to rush toward them, shouting loudly. Luli and Afe immediately charge back, tapping into their energy reserves for the impending battle. They sprint through the crowd of monsters, carrying the girl in their arms and fend off the attacking villagers. The large building echoes with the sounds of their clash, illuminated by bursts of energy. It's practically a light show, just without the fun part. After a short period, all the villagers lie defeated on the floor. Afe notices something strange happening in the building. Despite their victory, the bodies of the monsters start to pulse with strong energy, and the system notifies them that a ban has been imposed. Suddenly, the villagers begin to rise to their feet, radiating powerful energy. Afe, staring at the resurrected crowd, remarks on the strangeness of the situation. He turns to his brother, asking what their next move should be. Luli ponders aloud that logically the pike-headed man shouldn't possess such a skill. Observing the villagers, he realizes that everything happening is vastly different from the original plan. Something must have changed after he left the gaming company. Meanwhile, Afe starts battling the crowd of monsters, warning his brother that if things continue like this, it'll end up as the main course, because let's face it, no one wants to be a monster's midnight snack. Luli, with a serious expression, comes up with a plan and declares that they must escape first. They leap out of a window, with Luli holding the girl securely. The monsters reach through the window, clawing at empty air. Immediately, they dash down a narrow street, putting distance between themselves and the building they just escaped from. It's one of those moments where a tactical retreat feels a lot like a high-speed chase scene in an action movie, minus the car, but with plenty of adrenaline. They slip into a house and lock the door behind them. The monsters, oblivious, continue down the street in search of their prey. As they stand by the door, they fail to notice someone with white hair walking on the second floor. Afe exhales with relief and starts to comment on their current situation. But he stops mid-sentence, eyes widening as he sees someone reaching out toward him at lightning speed. Suddenly, Lumina approaches them and swiftly covers Afe's mouth with her hand. Luli gazes at her calmly and remarks, "It's her again." Afe, muffled by Luna's hand, attempts to say something but is unable to articulate a word. It seems like Luna has a knack for appearing at the most inconvenient moments, like a surprise guest who always brings chaos instead of dessert. Luna gestures for them to speak more quietly and softly informs them that the monsters are nearby. She moves to the center of the room and suggests they continue their conversation upstairs. They follow her lead, climbing to the upper room where they can see the red moon through the window. Afe, like everyone else, settles on the floor and asks if Luna is here on a mission too. He can't shake the feeling that she's been spying on them once more. It's like having a nosy neighbor who always seems to know more than they should. Luna reveals that she arrived earlier than them. Upon entering the village, she sensed something was amiss and decided to wait until nightfall to investigate carefully. However, just as she was about to venture out, they unexpectedly arrived. After her explanation, silence fills the room for several seconds. Luli's expression turns serious as he nods in agreement, acknowledging that something indeed seems off. He urges Luna to share everything she knows about what's going on. It's clear they need all the information they can get to make sense of this strange situation. The girl they took with them appears embarrassed upon hearing their conversation. She looks at the floor with a worried expression and remains silent for a few moments. Luna comforts her, placing a reassuring hand on her shoulder and telling her not to worry, they are here to protect her. She encourages the girl to share what she knows. Deeply surprised by the turn of events, the girl removes her pig mask and reveals this is exactly the point. Afe, taken aback, asks in disbelief if it was a mask. The girl explains that their village used to be peaceful and calm, with everyone being kind and friendly. However, outside the village there were always monsters with pig heads and human bodies roaming about. According to her uncle, who often ventured outside, as long as you stayed away from them, there was no danger. Later, everyone noticed that the monsters began mimicking their actions from time to time, which seemed rather comical. As a result, their vigilance against the monsters gradually weakened over time. However, everything changed on the fateful day when the Knights of the Holy Light arrived in their village. Among them was Sir Kurlik, renowned for his strength and gentle demeanor. Under his leadership, they performed a sacred prayer. But this time, during the prayer, she felt a different sensation, an intense heat coursing through her body as if needles were piercing her skin. Intrigued and hoping to understand this phenomenon, she sought answers. When Sir Kurlik learned of her experience, he was excited and told her that she had awakened the holy light within her body. He explained that this was a rare and fortunate occurrence. Furthermore, he extended an invitation for her to join the Society of the Holy Light, offering her a chance to become part of their holy group. Sir Kurlig also added that it will also bless their village, and they no longer have to worry about the threat of monsters. The villagers rejoiced over the prospect. However, their joy was abruptly shattered. They were viciously attacked by a horde of monsters, cruel, ferocious, and in such overwhelming numbers that defeating them seemed impossible. Sir Kurlig valiantly fought the monsters to protect their village but tragically fell in battle. Witnessing the brutality of it all, she was so terrified that she couldn't even bring herself to call for help, let alone flee. Her mind went blank and all she could do was cry, so much that she felt she couldn't shed another tear. Perhaps guided by the holy light, she found comfort and resolve in its presence, urging her to stay strong. If she's been chosen by the light, she must bear the responsibility it brings. In a desperate move, she donned a mask and started pretending to be one of the monsters, biding her time for a chance to escape. She recounts the harrowing events that transpire, attributing their arrival to fate and explaining how the sacred light bestowed her with its power. Luna and Luli ponder her words deeply, processing the gravity of the situation. Afe smiles warmly, aiming to instill hope in the girl, assuring her that he and his brother will find a solution. Her face lights up with relief and she eagerly asks if he's certain. He nods confidently, acknowledging that the responsibility will indeed fall upon their shoulders. The girl, focused on expressing her trust in them, doesn't notice the enormous eye peering at them through the window. She leans on their support, unaware of the looming danger. Luli and Luna are taken aback when they spot the massive monster outside the window. Reacting swiftly, they all jump back just as part of the building is demolished by its presence. They stare in awe and apprehension at the colossal creature before them, realizing that their challenges are about to get a whole lot bigger, literally. Surprised, Afag blurts out, asking what just happened as they all witness the colossal monster break into their hiding place. In a swift and terrifying move, the monster seizes the girl, declaring triumphantly that it has caught her. With chilling precision, the enormous creature lifts the girl and is about to make her its next meal. Afi gazes at the colossal monster and remarks on its immense size, noting the daunting challenge they face. Luli grimly states that their mission will fail if the girl dies, adding urgency to their actions. Without hesitation, they charge together towards the monster, pooling their energies to launch a coordinated attack. They unleash a combination of skills and magic, aiming to overwhelm the creature. However, the monster swiftly defends itself, shielding against their onslaught with a massive hand, proving to be a formidable adversary. It's like a high-stakes game of magical dodgeball, but with a monster who's not playing fair. The monster swings its massive arm with tremendous force, hurling them all into the nearest building. As it assesses the injuries on its hand from blocking their attacks, it questions aloud if there truly exists the power of a warrior lord in this world. Afi, standing on the roof of the building, marvels at the monster's size and questions how it could recover so swiftly from their assault. Luna speculates that there must be a weak spot they can exploit, aiming to turn the tide against their colossal foe. The monster swiftly delivers a devastating blow, shattering the building beneath their feet. However, they manage to leap away in different directions just in time. Standing atop a flying piece of debris, Luli declares that he'll cover their next move. Afi gives him a thumbs up, assuring him of his backup. Without hesitation, Afi leaps into action, conjuring 2 magic circles behind him. With a flourish, he unleashes the fire meteor spell, causing numerous small fireballs to materialize. He launches them all at once toward the monster, overwhelming it and forcing it to defensively block with its massive hand. The enraged monster exhales heavily, visibly furious at Afi's magical assault. It blocks Afi's attacks from a distance with one hand while clutching the girl in its other hand. With a menacing swing, it prepares to deliver a powerful blow, threatening imminent danger to them all. Luli swiftly maneuvers towards the monstrous fist as it hurtles towards him, his face surprisingly calm. Employing his backstab and explosive blade techniques, he teleports effortlessly above the beast's massive hand. With precision, he unleashes a flurry of dagger strikes infused with energy, leaving deep, grievous wounds on the monster's fist. Balancing skillfully on the now wounded appendage, Luli spots the girl ensnared in the monster's grasp. Without skipping a beat, he reaches out, determined to rescue her from this hairy situation. Afi's voice rings out, a loud warning to his brother to watch out. Luli swiftly scans the scene, spotting the monster channeling green energy to mend its injuries. To his surprise, humanoid monsters emerge from its hand, poised to attack. Reacting swiftly, Luli turns to face the unexpected threat. Just as the monsters close in, Luna dashes to his side, effortlessly dispatching them with her Starlight Break skill. She shoots him a glance, urging him to hurry and rescue the girl. After all, there's no time to waste when there's hero work to be done, and Luna's got monster busting covered. Luli and Luna exchange surprised looks as the monstrous hand undergoes a bizarre transformation, splitting into a multitude of smaller monsters. In the chaos, one of them snatches the girl and makes a break for it. Observing the absurdity of the situation, Luli can't help but quip, what kind of bunch of pig-headed idiots are they, because really, who turns into a crowd of mini-monsters to steal a girl? Luna turns to Luli, questioning if he believes it's too difficult for a normal mission task. Together, They strike with all their might, channeling their energy into powerful blows. She reflects, suggesting that perhaps defeating the boss isn't the primary objective of their mission. They both soar towards the rooftop where Afi stands resolute. Luna emphasizes that escorting the girl safe and sound is what really matters. As they give chase to the monster carrying the girl, Luli calls out to Afe, who stands calmly, focusing on restoring his mana. With a reassuring nod, Afe acknowledges their trust in him. With precision, Afe unleashes his double fire meter skill, obliterating a swarm of monsters hurtling towards him. At the same time, Luna and Luli sprint across rooftops in hot pursuit of the monster carrying the girl. The monster, sensing their pursuit, flashes a sly smile before abruptly transforming into one of the nearby buildings, smashing through its door with brute force. Luna and Luli swiftly descend to the broken doorway where the monster vanished. Luna insists they must halt its escape, determined to rescue the girl from its clutches. As they chase the monster through the room, Luna catches sight of something peculiar, while Luli remains fixated on their speedy adversary. He remarks on how effortlessly the monster navigates the area, quipping that it must have a subscription to the local running club and a GPS map of the dungeon. Luli notices the same thing as Luna and looks at it blankly. They both observe the distressed figures behind bars, their faces twisted in anguish, unable to articulate words, only emitting loud, plaintive sounds. Luna, with a pensive expression, suggests freeing them, her voice carrying a hint of concern mixed with a touch of optimism. However, she contemplates whether releasing them might bring allies or just a chaotic cacophony of gratitude. Luli swiftly slashes through the bars with his dagger, freeing the distraught prisoners. With a composed demeanor, he invites them to step out into the open. As the freed individuals cautiously approach, Luna, with a wry smile, suggests that the chaos they encountered might just trace back to Genesis. Perhaps some biblical proportions are at play in this dungeon drama. Luli, puzzled by Luna's cryptic remark, asks her to clarify. Luna's expression turns serious as she silently contemplates her thoughts. Suddenly, a loud cry echoes through the room, a familiar voice calling out for his brother, Afe. Luli recognizes the voice immediately and calls out to Afe. Afe dashes desperately, pursued by a horde of relentless monsters. He cries out for help, urging Luli and Luna to intervene before he's overwhelmed by the sheer number of foes. Meanwhile, the monster carrying the girl leaps agilely from rooftop to rooftop, swiftly moving in a determined direction. The girl, resigned to her fate, opens her eyes wide, convinced that she's about to become a monster's next meal. Sometime later, on the balcony of a high tower in the bustling city, the monstrous creature seats the girl against the wall with a huff, muttering about everyone being painfully slow. He glances back at the girl he's abducted, wearing a smirk that could rival a mischievous raccoon's. Sauntering over, he settles beside her and remarks with a false politeness on her surprisingly pleasant scent. He then dramatically opens his jaws wide, sporting an expression that could curdle milk, as if threatening to take a nibble out of her. The girl lifts her gaze, meeting the monster's gaze with a steely expression. From her sleeve, she deftly produces a small knife, a surprise that would make even a magician proud. Channeling the Shang Wine blessing skill, she closes her eyes, summoning energy that fuels an unexpected strike to the creature's face. The monster's head ignites with pain, emitting a shriek so loud it could wake the neighborhood. He extends his hand towards the trembling girl, who holds her knife tightly, resigned to what she believes will be her final moments. Just as the monster's fingers nearly touch her, a sudden, decisive strike severs his reaching hand. The girl looks up in astonishment to see Luli, the unexpected savior who has intervened to protect her from the monster. Overwhelmed with relief, she exclaims joyfully, addressing him as Lord Warrior. The monster, taken aback by Luli's sudden appearance, demands to know how he managed to arrive there. His voice drips with disbelief, questioning the origin of this unexpected interference. Luli remains silent, his expression calm yet resolute, clutching his dagger firmly in hand as he meets the monster's gaze with unwavering determination. He recalls the chaotic events that unfolded just 15 minutes ago in the city. Luli and Afe, accompanied by Luna, sprint away from a horde of monsters. A massive cloud of dust billows behind them, kicked up by the relentless pursuit of the creatures. The monsters scramble over each other in a comical attempt to catch up, like toddlers chasing after an ice cream truck. Luli tosses small blue pills to his companions with a wink, urging them to swallow them immediately. He himself pops one into his mouth without hesitation. What follows leaves the monsters baffled and bewildered. The trio suddenly turns invisible, vanishing like socks in a dryer. Confusion reigns among the monsters as they scratch their heads and peer around, shouting where did they go and if they are hallucinating again. One particularly puzzled monster even asks aloud if they accidentally stumble into a stealth cosplay convention. The monsters, now divided into groups to search, rely on their keen sense of smell to track down the invisible trio. However, their closeness to the scent means they can't be hiding far. The system notifies them that the group has consumed a stealth potion, causing the monsters to lose track of their target within 5 seconds. This skill comes in handy for escaping players. Seated quietly against the wall where they hide, Luli, Afe, and Luna catch their breath. Afe turns to his brother with a worried expression, pondering their next move in the face of unbeatable monsters and a missing girl. Luli reflects on their predicament, recognizing they face 2 formidable challenges: an overwhelming crowd of monsters and the abduction of the girl. Faced with such an unusual task, he concludes they must employ unconventional methods to succeed. Turning to his companions, Luli calls Afe over and inquires about Luna's name. Luna responds, revealing her name, prompting Luli to share his idea with a caveat: he'll need their assistance to make it work. Sometime later, the monsters patrol the streets, baffled by the sudden disappearance of the scent trail. Determined to locate their elusive targets, they scour every nook and cranny, muttering to themselves about checking every corner and hoping to stumble upon a clue. Against the wall, a monster munches on a piece of meat, oblivious to the stealthy approach behind him. Suddenly grabbed by the shoulder, he jumps in fright, quickly hiding the meat and turning around with a worried expression. He explains in a panic that he wasn't fooling around. He missed breakfast and was dizzy from hunger. Unveiling himself as the transformed monster, Luli reassures him that he does not need to panic as he just ate too. He tells him to take a breather and have a chat. The worried monster, still clutching his piece of meat, asks Luli what he wants to discuss. Luli settles on a nearby box and muses aloud, wondering if the powerful trio of warriors could be the ones who kidnapped the girl. Peering at Luli through meaty contemplation, the monster queries if he means the snack. The monster reassures Luli with a calm expression, explaining that there's no need to worry. Old Juan, renowned for his speed among his brothers, possesses an intimate knowledge of every house in the village. With their distinct scent, it's only a matter of time before they track them down, as their aroma carries far and wide. Luli smiles in agreement, understanding the urgency of the situation. He emphasizes the need to move quickly, catch the culprits, and regroup at the village entrance. The monster corrects Luli, asserting that they have to head to the clock tower instead. He glances away, privately musing that despite this brother is an idiot who does not know anything. Luli explains with a chuckle that he forgets things all the time due to his indulgence in drinking. Suddenly, a powerful explosion reverberates through the village, startling the monster. He turns to Luli with wide eyes, demanding to know what just happened. At the same time, Afi dashes down the street, pretending to carry the girl in his arms. He shouts back to the pursuing monsters, taunting them that he's returned, goading them to give chase. The crowd of monsters, now filling the street, hasten their pursuit, determined to catch up with Afi and his elusive prey. Imprisoned from his towering perch, the monster gazes down at Luli, clutching his wounded face in disbelief. He mutters to himself, questioning aloud how this could even be happening. But hey, monsters get surprised too, especially when unexpected guests like Luli show up unannounced. Luli swings his dagger with precision, unleashing a burst of formidable energy. In a swift motion, he rescues the girl and delivers a barrage of strikes upon the bewildered monster who dared to kidnap her. After dispatching the monster, Luli leaps down to the street where his friends are desperately fleeing from a swarm of pursuing monsters. Afi's face lights up with relief upon seeing him, exclaiming joyfully that Luli is indeed his brother. Luli swiftly scoops up the girl and urges them to keep moving, reminding them they must escape the village first before they can relax. Time to hustle, monsters, and family drama won't wait. As they dash through the village, a colossal monster lumbers after them, smaller monsters leaping from its back with loud proclamations that escape is futile. Quick thinking, Luli and the group gulp down a boost potion, enhancing their speed by 30% for 30 seconds. Just in time as the massive monster swings a mighty blow their way, but thanks to their newfound speed, they narrowly evade its crushing attack. Looks like speed really does save the day. Take that, oversized menace. They sprint away from the village, bathed in the eerie glow of the red moon. As they exit its bounds, the unnatural light gradually fades, returning to normalcy. A notification chimes, confirming their successful escape from the village. Afe, finally catching his breath, remarks with relief that they finally made it out. Luli keeps running, insisting they can't stop yet. They need to push further away from the village. They maintain their high-speed escape, but suddenly, numerous shadows materialize beside them, catching everyone's attention. Startled, they all turn around, eyes wide with surprise as they behold something unexpected. The enormous monster roars in fury, its anger palpable as it glares at them. With a mighty swing of its arm, it hurls a swarm of smaller monsters directly at them. Luli, Afe, and the girl stand their ground, watching in astonishment as the creatures hurtle toward them through the air. Seems like they've just been served a surprise monster buffet. I hope that you liked today's video, and if you did, hit that like button as today's like goal is 1,500 likes. Comment part 3 down below for the next part. Also, consider subscribing with the notification bell on to get notified as soon as a new video drops onto the channel. You can also join the channel to support me financially and watch videos before public release. I'll meet you in the next video. Until then, thanks for watching.